Hale, the holistic tech wizard from religious exile to multidimensional strategist. The last time he was on, he warned about the coming AI tech entry into our lives on a massive scale, and boom, here it is. And now he's going to tell us how to get out of it. Joshua, thanks for coming back on.
Thanks for having me, man. It wasn't that long ago that we last talked, but boy, has a lot changed.
No kidding, no kidding. And you've broken free on many different levels. We're just talking about how your holistic group is, had a bunch of chickens. You guys, made available to everybody because you raised them, and you're taking care of business out there on your own. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on for you.
Yeah, well, I spend my days like deep in AI and tech and building agents and doing incredible things. And then I clock off and I go outside and then like to get my hands in the dirt or something of the equivalent. Like I said, we just processed 83 meat birds on Saturday. Lots of challenges, and we raised those birds from baby chicks.
Wow.
Something I learned. Like 80 baby chicks are really loud. Put them all together. But through that process, my mutual aid group, we were able to, pick a project, invest in it, and then see it through. And we did a, phenomenal job working together when it was time to, to process all those birds. And now we have birds in our freezers, and we know, they led a happy life. We know what went in them. We know what didn't go in them. And the kids, they got to witness that whole process as well. So I think it's just really doing a lot of good on all fronts.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, you're doing it on every single level. You're breaking free from the AI tech control system, building something outside of that, like with the chickens, and you're also doing it with tech. So you're very, very skilled in the tech business. You've broken free from that system. You're teaching other people how to break free, how to build their own businesses, free from the tech control system. So how's that going?
Yeah, well, a good analogy is that right now I'm writing the AI frontier models. So like ChatGPT, Claude, if your audience has heard of that, I'm on that train and I'm trying to learn as much as I can in order to understand, how AI can be used for good, and ready to jump off that crazy train before it heads off into the panopticon. Now, panopticon is essentially a prison where they have the guards in a central tower, and they have like two-way mirrors up. And so the prisoners around that really don't know when they're being watched or when they're not being watched. This is something that was developed in I think late 1800s, but it was a really good way of controlling human behavior. When you're being watched, people tend to police themselves. And we're heading into a digital panopticon with the technology that's now rolling out, with the plans over the last 100 years, multi-generational plans of how to, control society now coming into play. This missing component was the AI to process all the data that we've been spewing online for the last 20 years, and be able to harness that into a way of adding to surveillance, all the flock cameras that are going up right now, or at least everybody's becoming aware of them. Combining surveillance, that data, and then our internet behavior processed by AI can then, really control us. And something I did over the weekend, this is where, after doing the chickens and finally just cleaning up around the house, I was thinking about, how do I consume media? I really like to watch YouTube. I know there's alternative versions out there, but just YouTube is just really convenient. And I like long form content. And over the years, I've developed my own, who I follow, who I subscribe to. And I was thinking about it, what? I really am curious about what the algorithm is feeding me, what's on the homepage and what's like being shown to me. And so because I have agents, I'm able to actually tell it to go do stuff like this. I told it to go to YouTube, scroll down my homepage, look at the 50 videos that are being fed to me. Then I was able to go to Google Takeout and examine all the data of YouTube that is my habits, what videos I've watched, which ones I've clicked on, which ones I commented on. So I was able to combine that information, give it to my agent, my AI agent, and say, find some interesting, behaviors out of this. 40% of my viewership goes to recommended videos that are like YouTube is like giving to me, not that I subscribe to, but that's a pretty high amount of, information that I'm taking in. And I've been able to, I'm a pretty aware person, but I have been aware that, information that comes in, just because it might be long form information, doesn't mean it has depth to it. There's a lot of opinion content out there, and more, or less and less, people are showing like the sources of where information is coming from, and so you're just kind of casually consuming information, accepting it as fact. And when it's coming to you in multiple different areas, right, it has the power to influence our ideas and our behaviors. And we might be like, oh yeah, I didn't think like this 3 months ago, but now I do for some reason. So I had AI examine YouTube. I had to examine my Facebook feed. I had to examine my X feed, in order to like see how the algorithm is like influencing me. And I'm creating a skill to be able to just share this with other people so they can actually like do this too. Right? Because we don't think about this stuff. We're just, living life and trying to survive and work. And then, I got a couple minutes. I'm going to check out the feed, right? See what's new. And when you're down in it, you're just like, looking for stuff that's relevant, stuff that catches your eye. And so it's just really hard to like have that bird's eye view of like, what am I actually being fed? And it was really fascinating to see the difference between the networks and how they kind of like help each other out, and which network is good for what stuff. X come to find out is good for like quick research, right? You can quickly get a kind of a pulse of what's going on in the world, but it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. YouTube tends to have a lot of depth, but as I said, there's a lot of long form content now, 10-minute clips, hour-long clips, and it might not have actual sources to it. Facebook is a lot about, for my feed at least, a lot about community and connection and local events and things like that. So being able to like examine from a bird's eye view, I'm able to see how am I being influenced and kind of audit myself and audit my media. I was able to have it give me recommendations for who to subscribe to, so that it's not just like one political echo chamber, right? Or, I'm a very, I'm suspicious of institutions. This is what AI told me. And so being able to get a more well-rounded, who I subscribe to, so that I can get contrasting opinions and views. I think that's a good thing. But being able to like leverage AI to help us like get out of the weeds, examine, our lives. And this is just one example that I'm sharing with your audience of like how this can be a powerful tool versus just trying to survive and, make it through the day. Because a lot of us are like that. I'm raising an 8-year-old, got a family, got 2 businesses with my wife. And a lot of times you just have enough resources just to like get through the day. And honestly, that's where they want you. They, meaning the controlling power structures of the world. Because if you're too frazzled to examine like, hey, what is this information that I'm constantly being inundated with every day? Even though I think it's fun, entertaining, helpful, being able to examine these things is like something that AI is really good at. And now circling back, this is also being used against us because we've been trailing this data for 20 years. And now combined with the flock cameras, combined with, the digital IDs that are being forced upon states and, the country, there is more and more data sets being triangulated on us that AI can process within seconds to, unfortunately, create that digital panopticon that I was talking about in the beginning.
Is that one of the the main reasons why they're building these AI centers that collect all this, to hold all this data against us? Really, if you look at it that way,
ChatGPT doesn't need all those data centers in order to, help you create a recipe for dinner, right? These data centers have been being built for, 15 years at least in like large scale. And what's really fascinating, when the current administration got their first day in office, they signed a bunch of what's it called? To counter a lot of laws from the previous administration. They come in and sign.
Yeah, you signed it quite a bit. Yeah.
Well, the very first thing he signed was to fast track data centers. So that was his number one priority getting into office. So that just kind of paints the picture of like how important these things are. And it's not for, faster ChatGPT. It has to do with that, track trace database surveillance system that's being built around us, because lo and behold, the missing component AI is now like here and it can be put to use.
Well, it can be used for good and for evil. We're seeing, there were millions of people came across the border that shouldn't have. Maybe there's a lot of information that's been collected on them. I would hope so. We're seeing, demonstrations in some cities by, radical Muslim groups in Michigan. So we're maybe there's a lot there. Cameras are like flock cameras are looking at them and collecting data. This, when I was in the CIA, this would have been a dream, absolute dream, and here it is. I hate to see it in my country, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the Gulag Archipelago was missing AI. They had a really good system, but they didn't have AI to run it. And unfortunately, like 100 years later, this is where we are, where that missing component is now, available. And it's a tool. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. I spend all week, coaching individuals and businesses on how to leverage this stuff, understanding the difference between closed and open source AI so that you can maintain the control of your own data. You can control the guardrails that the AI that you're dealing with. And back to the analogy of the crazy train, right? I'm like trying to learn as much as I can using these frontier models to then jump off and be able to then use local open source models on my computer. The data stays in my office, and I'm able to then take advantage of all the features and really help people out managing their life, managing their businesses, helping with big decisions, helping with the 1,000 of digital paper cuts we get each day, just trying to keep up on our notifications, our emails, our text messages. And this stuff is like by design to just swamp us. Our brains can't handle this much information that we are constantly processing every day. And so I really see the opportunity now showing up that we can create digital moats around us, get away from these screens. I think I'm about 6 months away from being able to just talk to AI in the morning, get a report. I call it the Godfather life, right? He's sitting at the table. He has somebody come up, whisper in his ear. He's like, yeah, no, cut it, kill it. All right, good. And AI can just go and do stuff, which AI is doing stuff now.
Right.
And then you can just walk away. You can just walk away from your emails knowing that AI's, trustworthy AI is monitoring your emails, monitoring your text messages, can bring important stuff up to you, but also hold back all that noise so that I can just go out and live my life. I can go out, work out in the field, hang out with friends, build community. And I know that things aren't falling down just because I haven't looked at my email in 2 days.
Hmm. Which AI are you using and do you recommend?
Great question. And my answer pretty much changes every week. About a month ago, I was using Claude for about 80% of my work. And earlier this year, I set up my AI agent that basically there's harnesses. It's called harnesses that can connect to any AI that you want. They use API, and so they're just bringing in like ChatGPT. They're bringing in Claude's model. They're bringing in open source models. They can bringing in Chinese models, and each week new models are just coming out. There's literally hundreds of models to choose from. I have a couple that run locally on my computer, and so I'm able to use the best model out there, which right now is kind of Claude's Fable 5. That's kind of the big wig. It's going to be dethroned here probably this week. And if I have a very big idea, a very big project, a very big, business, thing I want to explore, I go to that. It does, most frontier level intelligence processing of that information. It really does produce amazing results nowadays. You give it enough context, it can blow your mind. Then I can take the results of that and then bring it locally so that I got the plan. Now I'm going to build it. I can build websites. I can build, products. I can build, anything that I, in this digital world, how to make money. I can now bring it locally and it can do stuff. What that does is protect my information. I don't have to go and use ChatGPT. I don't have to go and use Claude for more sensitive, information. I like to use what's called Hermes. Hermes is a harness that brings in a bunch of different AIs, and so I can, whatever level I'm needing it, it can just call out and go do stuff. Now I'm able to talk to Hermes through Telegram, and that's was a big breakthrough earlier this year, where instead of me needing to go to the browser to ChatGPT to be able to use that thing, I'm able to just hop into my DMs and talk to it. And I actually have a new software called Buzz that was created by Jack Dorsey, who's a big open source proponent, and I am now able to get multiple AI agents in there and get them to argue amongst themselves. So I say, I have this idea. What do you guys think about this? And they will argue amongst themselves. And I can just wait for the result of all these different models arguing. That's a new level of power and intelligence. So 2 weeks ago, I was using Claude 80% of the time. ChatGPT 5.6 just came out right after that. And so that really shifted because it was a lot cheaper and a lot more proficient at doing kind of your mundane office work tasks. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been using ChatGPT probably about 60% of the time. My local AI agent probably about 20% of the time. And honestly, Claude about 10% of the time right now.
Wow. I love that. One of your comments was digital paper cuts. So that's good. I love that. But you're doing what I did in the CIA. We changed our routes, we changed our methods, we changed the way we look, we changed our cars, and you're kind of doing that with AI. You're switching your AI around so they can't keep track of you. I like that. That's very clever.
Yeah, and ultimately, the battlefield that we are on is really against open source versus closed source. Right. I'll explain what that is. It's pretty simple. Closed source is basically, these frontier models, Claude, ChatGPT, which ChatGPT started off as kind of an open source, open AI, but they definitely didn't go that route. They develop these AI models and then they sell access to them. They don't give you access to examine them. You don't get to see what's under the hood. You just get to pay to access these frontier models. Now, open source which surprisingly is what China's strategy is with AI. They invest heavily into creating and training a model, and then they give it away for free and let you look under the hood so that you can see how it's running. You can make tweaks and changes to it to customize it to your own use, and so that's really the battlefield, because in our future, we need to have choice. That's really what freedom boils down to, right? The freedom to choose what tools we want to use, what kind of lifestyle we want to live, and the means to do that. But when we are, being held hostage by paying ChatGPT $20 a month, I'm on the $100 a month plan. Access to your information that it's been slowly collecting and using for the last few years, for those that are using it. If your data is stuck inside of these frontier models and you don't have the ability to, access or get that data out of there, then you're essentially being held hostage, and you have to pay this subscription fee to use this and get access to your own data. So open source is the alternative from that, so that you can either might be able to download it for free or pay a one-time fee to get it. Then you own it. It's on your computer. All you need to pay is for the electricity and the computer processing to use these things, and then you have that. And I think the real only way through this, getting out of the digital panopticon ahead of us is by having our own open source AI models that have our back, basically like Jarvis from Iron Man, something that knows us well, that can protect our privacy and our sensitive information, but also can help out with the landscape of manipulation that's out there. Because now that AI is here, it's out in the wild. Big governments are using it, big corporations are using it, and it's now being used against us, using our own data against us. It's going to be so subtle in the amount of manipulation that to change your, opinions and behavior. And, big tech has been doing this for 100 years. It's called cybernetics. They developed this in the 30s from the Macy conventions of how man interacts with machine. They've figured this stuff out, and they've been slowly rolling out tech in order to do that. And if you look back on the last 20 years, the invention of social media, it doesn't have to be this way, but it's there in order to, get a reaction out of us, in order to maximize our attention and our time spent on these networks. Google Maps, right, is tracking everything. It's making suggestions. It's feeding us ads. All this stuff is designed based off of cybernetics, so that we can slowly get closer and closer into interfacing with these machines. And so knowing this, we need to have, an AI, a Jarvis that has our back, that can look for these subtle manipulations, just like, how I'm now analyzing my YouTube feed and my Facebook feed and my X feed, right? So I have context, and that post right there is that thing that it just told me about. I can then, have a deeper understanding of the world that I'm coming in contact with. And, all of us are more and more online, more every day. So having something to help watch our back, I think, is the only way through, because it's looking pretty bleak out there.
Yeah, but I like the way you're basically harnessing it. You're doing an exceptional job of harnessing it, understanding it on a incredibly deep. Well, I had no idea it's been around that long, almost 100 years now. Wow, that's incredible. So a slow manipulation. Now, speaking of manipulation, you talk about social media. So social media, Zuckerberg made a deal with the CIA. Also, Larry Ellison made a deal with the CIA, Oracle, and so did Google. So all the, we know the CIA is Overwatch, or controlling the world for a great extent. I've worked in the CIA. I know this. They told us to stay off of of Facebook, and I was like, why? What do you mean? And then I figured it out, of course, because some people posted on Facebook, and then they were no longer in a CIA job. So you have to be, they're watching everything, and they created a lot of this stuff so they could watch us. So why not create something so we can watch them? All right. So that's what you're doing. And how many people do you work with? I mean, I don't know if you want to disclose that, but you work with a lot of people, business wise and so forth.
Sure thing. Well, I have different, roles that I help people out with. An educator. Right now, I'm doing a live cohort where I'm walking people through how to use the new ChatGPT work. Like I said, it's no longer just in your browser and a chat conversation that you have to copy and paste with. It can now get access to folders on your computer. You can connect it to tools. Right now, I actually have it building a website for me in the background. And so it can do stuff now. And so I'm teaching people with a live cohort through that process. I also help people out with AI coaching, being able to examine, their relationship with AI, how the current capabilities that AI has that can help them out with their daily, what tasks are eating up their time each week. Creating automation so that that report is sitting there waiting for you. You don't have to go click through all the buttons, gather all that information, and get it done. Helping people out with currently creating content. One of my clients, he had about 2 years of Zoom meeting transcripts of him and his clients and his work. So I was able to collect all those transcripts, put them into a folder on his computer, give AI access to that, and then help create content from his words. So it's not just AI making up stuff, but you're able to take those actual transcripts and then just structure them into a nice looking post so that it's your words putting out there. And the cool thing is ChatGPT now can pop open a browser and we'll go and schedule those posts for you too. So, that's hours each week that I was able to save for him. And then if you have a business, I have about almost 15 years of marketing experience in my back pocket now. So if you have funnels, if you, I'm helping people out with Facebook ads right now. There's pretty wild things you can do with leveraging AI and taking care of ad management. So it just, honestly, I'm in a really good position because AI keeps getting better and better every week. And there's just really cool things you can now do with it. So, even if you haven't,
what you say on your website, don't escape the system, build a better one. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right. Because, I've been escaping matrices my whole life. As we said in the beginning, I escaped organized religion when I was 16. And then I got thrown into the party scene and became addicted to heavy drugs, hard drugs. And so I've had to grow out of these things one by one. And there's some systems that you just can't grow out of. There's no more countries to go and move to that aren't, currently being controlled. So it's about, being able to develop systems in your life so that you are more self-reliant, not dependent upon decaying systems that are crumbling around us. And that's, where my mutual aid work comes in. So you have a hyper local, if you click mutual aid in the top right or in the top menu, helping find a hyper local group of people that you can trust, that you can slowly start working with, and over time build that trust so that when stuff hits the fan, you got a crew that you can depend on. And me, harvesting all those chickens with my mutual aid group, that was another learning process of you. I mean, you really can't judge other people's character at a nice dinner party, right? You can get a nice, some surface level conversations, but it's not until you're arms deep in, processing a pig that you really get to see a character of the people around you. You need stressful situations to, see how they really act. So building mutual aid groups is a passion project of mine, helping people find families of 8 8. There's 8 people in the mutual aid group that consists of 8 families. And so keep it small so the bureaucracy doesn't gum up the decision making, but gives you a starting place. And it could be as simple as growing a garden together, going hiking once or twice a month, to all the way up to prepper level. Like how many resources do you want to have? So that's a really passion project, and it goes hand in hand with everything that I teach. Like, because you're not going to be able to lone wolf your way out of harm's way in this society that we're living in. You really need community and people that can help the work a lot lighter. So that's where I really spend my time, other than when I'm not online.
Beautiful. Yeah, getting your crew together, as Katie's saying in the chat. You trust very few, but you trust your crew. You got you're talking about 8 people. You have that course on how to break the ice and start to build your crew, and it sounds pretty exciting. I've seen your progression. Since the last time we talked, it's pretty impressive. You're definitely in the process. You're reporting from the ground, what's actually going on, and you're doing an amazing job creating these groups like this. So give us a little bit more. You talked about it last show. Give us a little bit more about your group and what you guys do together, and then you teach them a lot of this stuff. This is part of the process too. Wow, what a great guy to have, in your crew. Wow, that's amazing.
Well, growing up in a religious, organization, community was something that just naturally came along with that, right? I was going to like 100-person picnics out in the parks and stuff like that, and I thought that was just normal. And then it wasn't until I got, I was disfellowshipped and kicked out, that I realized like creating actual community and society is actually like really hard. It's not just something you naturally grow into. There's a lot of individualization taking place in society, to where this like lone wolf mentality of we got to take care of our own family. We look out for ourselves. And you might have, schoolmates or associates from work, but really to have close companions is a difficult thing, especially in this digital age, right? With social media giving this surface level connection. And so when I left organized religion and then got thrown into the party scene, right? I thought I had so many friends. I had like 2,000 Facebook friends, right? But it wasn't until I got sober that I realized these people aren't really my friends. These are my party scene. And it was because I had very low expectations to be my friend, right? If you smoke marijuana, guess what? I do too. We're best friends. That was literally the only requirement to be my friend, right? You party? Me too. Great. We're besties. But that brought a lot of chaos and a lot of corruption into my life. Because I didn't have strong values and principles to live my life off of. So when I got sober, both me and my wife both got sober. This is 14 years ago now. We were both completely isolated. The whole party scene that we were a part of, couldn't really hang out with us anymore. We didn't have anything in common. We're starting to build a family, and we just really grew apart. I literally have probably about 5 friends in my life from that chapter, from that period in my life. So I had to figure out how do I build community? And one that wasn't, because I was part of a club or part of another religion, how do I actually vet people in my community and create connection? And so that's where mutual aid groups really grew out of. was that desire to have close connection, know your neighbors and be able to, trust them and then do amazing things with, because my life has gotten way funner, way easier now that I have like community and good people in my orbit. And ultimately it's insulating my family from, a decaying system around me as well. So I first came up with like the idea of creating skill shares and, trying to draw a crowd to learn new skills, and then trying to like do volunteer work together. That was my like early mutual aid group efforts. I put a lot of effort into that, like 2 years of doing those skill shares with a couple of select close friends of mine. Didn't really amount to any movement or anything, actually them really experience isolation and the damage isolation can do. But then through that, difficult period, I then found other people that were questioning things, and I'm sure this is a really common story with your audience.
Definitely.
Should the government have the authority to be able to just shut everything down overnight? And so kind of found a, new group of people in my area that had the, the awareness to ask questions. We were doing something very rebellious, and it was really powerful to get people together, share meals, and just experience that connection, in that dark period. And so that was when I ended up coming across a guy, one of my mentors. His name is Stefan Verstappen. He's a martial arts instructor, traveled the world his whole life, lived in every type of intentional community. And he was writing a book called The Ultimate Guide to Intentional Communities. And I told him, I'm like, this information is really needed right now, right? We're trying to figure out how to rebuild society because, I've felt betrayed by the one that was sold to me. And he then ghosted me for about 6 months because I said, hey, you should really, build a course and put that book inside the course. Yeah. He came back around about 6 months. He kind of vetted me, saw that I knew how to make courses, and took that into account and said, all right, let's build that course. So he filled in a lot of blank spots of that skill share and trying to get people to volunteer together. And then coupling that with a couple other frameworks, I was able to then present that course to my local, hey, would you guys like to watch this with me? And we ended up watching that for 8 weeks and went through that material. And at the beginning, there was 20 people showing up. At the end of it, there was 8 people showing up. And so by the end of it, I said, hey, would you guys like to be, in my mutual aid group? And that was how the first one was started. That was 4 years ago. Now I have all that experience of leading my mutual aid groups. I've helped spark and inspire other mutual aid groups to get started in my area. So now we have what's called the Whatcom County Mutual Aid Network. And the goal for that is multiple mutual aid networks. They're capped at 8 so that all the needs of the individuals can be met. And, it doesn't grow into a group of 50 and then you're just, kind of losing track of people's names. But then also, if we have a big project like a barn raising, we can call upon all the mutual aid groups in the area and they can all show up. So we can get those numbers for big projects. And then I created a mini course to help people out. And that's what we showed you on the screen there. Taking my experience from the last 4 years, I created a bunch of templates, bunch of, how to find people, resources, how to vet people, resources, what questions to ask. And the secret sauce to that is really, invite them in, but at arm's length, and be able to observe, see how they are helping you out in the garden. See how do they show up when they say they're going to be. Are they, gossipers? Do they start talking smack about others when there's small stress that comes up? Those are all early tell signs that, maybe this person isn't who I want to be in close proximity to me and my family. So being able to set up structures so that you're able to observe people as they get closer and closer. And that's how you really are able to identify psychopaths and sociopaths, is like not what they say, because they're pretty smooth talkers most of the time. But being able to just observe their behavior and see if it matches what they're saying.
Yeah, that's a good one, because I get the psychopaths show up occasionally. It's not fun. So yeah, your information, I love your wealth of information. Your website, Joshua Hale dot, is that LO?
IO.
IO. Okay. So that's interesting. So I've never even seen that before. You're breaking away from system right there, I guess.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's a technology domain is basically what it means. So joshuahale.io is where you find me.
Nice. And then you got your LinkedIn. Have all these links down below where people can book a session with you, book a clarity call, from chatbot to a coworker.
Yeah, that was a previous workshop that I taught, and so I have a bunch of replays. There's different levels that you can interact with me. You can watch a previous workshop. I have the Inner Circle, which is basically a Signal chat feed where I drop tips and tricks into Signal every day. You get access to workshops each month. You get access to weekly Q&As. That are going to be starting. That's a Holistic Tech Wizard Inner Circle. And that is going to be, I'm doing some pretty amazing things. So with how fast AI is moving, that's probably the best place to just keep track of how fast it's going.
Very nice. So there's you've got times, you've got dates, book that clarity call.
Yeah, so I offer a free clarity call. So if you just want to chat and see how well we vibe together, pitch me an idea, I bet you I'd have some good ideas of how AI could help that.
And then you have a newsletter. That's good, free, nice.
Yeah.
Sign up and stay informed, because the stuff you're talking about. It's for most of us. It's over our heads. We don't have the time. We don't have the the know-how. But you're doing it all. You're making it easy for everybody. So that's fantastic.
That is one of my superpowers. Is just being able to explain things simply, because AI can be really intimidating. There's a lot of AI haters out there on the internet right now, and I think they're really misinformed. They don't understand the opportunity that's available right now. And if they think just fighting data centers, which is already paid for, is already rolling out, and is already been the infrastructure being built for the last 20 years, they're barking up the wrong tree. They don't understand where power actually sits. And if they just blanket hate all of AI just because it's being forced from a top down standpoint into their jobs, into their businesses, threatening their, careers, they don't understand what they're actually up against, because it's actually about open source and closed source. That's where the actual fight is right now. And people just need to know, if you don't want to touch AI and you have the resources to live out in the woods and live a good life, that's great. Congratulations. I'm glad that's for you. For everybody else, we have some big decisions to make and a rocky road ahead of us with the way society has been shaped for us. And so we really need to use all the leverage we can. And AI is a huge leverage point that I don't think the powers that be realize what they were actually making available and accessible to the general public. And there's two types of AI out there. There's the dumbed down version, and then there's the frontier capabilities that are happening right now. The dumbed down version of AI looks like chat bubbles. When you pop open a chat, a chat window, and it tells you what sentences you can choose from in order to interact with it, that's dumbed down AI. That is not the actual frontier models. That is pre-designed, if this, then that systems that you're just interacting with. The frontier models are extremely powerful. Are just this last week, ChatGPT, which, you know, I hold at arm's length, just came out with the most recent voice capabilities. It's had voice for the last like year, 2 years, but they just upgraded it to where it can now listen and speak at the same time. And so the back and forth is actually really conversational, and it's not cringy or, you know, frustrating. And it can do multiple things simultaneously, meaning I gave this as an example in this week's cohort. I was able to say, chat, I want you to check the schedule for next weekend, see if I have enough space to take the family camping, go and check the weather, tell me if the weather is going to be nice. Simultaneously, I want you to generate an image and, you know, be able to share that image of what my family could be doing for outdoor activities. And then I want you to also spin up a website so that I can share, you know, our upcoming summer schedule with my family. And it will simultaneously open up 5 chat windows now, get each of those tasks going while you can still talk to it and keep brainstorming. So as I said, AI can now do stuff. It can go and look at your calendar. It can look at your emails. It can look at, you know, things that you've given access to, and it can take a lot of the busy work, all that, you know, research of trying to find a good Airbnb to figure out your vacation. My wife would spend like 2 hours doing that stuff. It can like now just like get that done in 10 minutes while you're, you know, doing something else. That's why I have like a website that is just got done being built in the background while I'm in the podcast, right? People don't understand for how we've been using technology has intentionally been designed to be overwhelming, and we can't take any more information each day. Everybody's at their wits' end with how much information we're processing online. And so I think the only way through this is to understand like, oh, AI can be used for good. We can create systems with it, and we can, you know, use discipline so that I don't need to use my screen anymore. I just talk to it for a couple minutes in the morning, and then I'm not checking my notifications, getting hijacked by social media, doom scrolling for a half hour before I even realize what's going on, right? Yeah. By video suggestions that I'm not even in charge of. So these things really help us keep a digital moat around us, like I said, to where we can get a lot more done and go live our life, like figure out our revenue streams, figure out what you're passionate about, brings you purpose, how you can bring value into the world, create revenue doing that, and then we can, you know, enjoy our lives and our family.
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely. So where do you see things going? You're very good at, you know, the future casting with technology. We know that the tech giants want to control us, like we've been talking about. What do you see coming? I mean, you're giving people an option with AI, how it can be utilized to our benefit. But what do you see with the bigger picture? Is it going to be a nightmare scape like something out of Terminator, or what do we got coming?
Somebody asked me, like, what do I see coming in 10 years? I don't know. That is really far. Yeah, there's so much growth that can take place, and so many bad things that can happen in that amount of time. 6 months. Well, Elon Musk, love or hate that guy. I kind of do both. He said in 3 years, there's going to be 100 million to 1 billion robots on the planet doing work. Yep. And so that is like, I watch robotics pretty carefully just because I want to know like the current capabilities. Last weekend, a new service in San Francisco is hiring robots to clean your house. Now, they're not fully autonomized, but they do have like a human controller kind of remote controlling them. But for $30 an hour, you can get a robot to come clean your house. That's kind of like where the current capabilities are outside of like military, right? Military's got their own robotics. Yeah. So like robots are here. Our world is rapidly changing around us. And, you know, I really see that the physical world with robots, and then that digital panopticon, you know, scenario that I'm trying to point out and let everybody know, like, unless you're using privacy respecting phones and website browsers and computers, like you are spewing your data all over the place, and it's now going to be heavily used against you. So I do have a lot of concern about, where we're going to be in the next couple of years with AI just knowing and profiling everybody down to the T, where the AI knows you better than your mom and your partner. And like what that can do, because there is, it's called AI slop, but essentially even that term is being outdated because video generation, music generation, like all this media capabilities is like pretty indistinguishable now, image generation, from real life. And so you can't trust anything that's on your feed anymore. You really don't know if it's real or if it's not real. And so being able to know the difference between like what's online and then what's in the real world, I think is going to be pivotal, because the more people are addicted to video games, the more people are dependent upon, corporate news, even independent news, which isn't alternative media. Even those are highly controlled environments. And so if your only intake of information is like from these controlled areas and you're not, going outside, getting in nature, connecting with community. I run a men's circle every 2 weeks around my fireplace. We get together, we smoke cigars, and we talk. We talk about things we can't talk about online because there's a lot of, a minefield out there that you can get in trouble with. But we're able to actually share information unfiltered, uncensored, and having those systems in your life where you're able to actually go out into the real world, connect with real people, connect with like-minded people, work on projects together, get things accomplished. Like, that's real. This right here, this is digital, and digital can easily be replicated and fake. And so the more separation you can create between the two of them, I think is going to be able to, bring more, happiness, joy, and security into your life, because we really don't know what online, activity is going to look like in 3 years. This stuff is moving so incredibly fast. Each week, like a new model is coming out. The models are now training themselves. This is a good fact for your audience to know. This just came out in the last two models that Claude and ChatGPT released. That over the weekend, 2 weeks ago, ChatGPT released 5.6. Over the weekend, 2 weeks later, they just announced that they're slashing their prices of how much it costs to use these AI by 80%, because they got the model to improve itself. Wow. And found all these efficiencies to improve. And so it just went down 80%.
Because I have somebody else that's, really watching this, and a lot of people are like concerned that AI is going to replace them. Well, a lot of people were hired back because AI was so expensive. So what do you think? What do you think about that? It looks like AI is trying to cut the cost so they can stay relevant.
I really think, there's two things. One, over the last 20 years in corporate America, there has been a lot of bloat and a lot of profit being made. And to justify those profits, they have to put a lot of people to work. And so I think there was a lot of unnecessary jobs, right? Think of the show Office, people just there doing meaningless stuff. Everybody is trying not to outdo each other, because if you start, outperforming your fellow coworkers, then they don't like you because you're showing how inefficient they are. And so there is a attitude and environment of just like, okay, the bare minimum to get my paycheck, right? And I think that's been going on for decades and has created a lot of bloat and inefficiencies in businesses. Now comes AI. AI can do a lot of these small, repetitive tasks. not so good 2 years ago, now they can do them pretty dang good. And the real force multiplier is that one person leveraging AI that knows how to use it can do the job of 5 other people. And so you're not necessarily going to have a robot replacing you, from your job, this year, next year, but you are going to be having people that are proficient, experts in their field that know how to use AI and can do circles around you because they're building websites while you're talking to them around the water cooler, right? So I think that's one of the first things that's going to, be a real shock to the work system. Then there is robots, like we just said, like they are being built, they're being developed, and we're now crossing a point, like I said, with 80% efficiency costs just dropped in 2 weeks. These AI models are now training themselves, and so we're now entering into a phase. It's called recursory training, where the model is going to train itself. And this is where the hockey puck shoots up, is because now the AI has the capability to train itself. It's going to really improve quickly. So if you thought AI was moving fast the last year, 2 years, what's going to happen in the next 3 months is going to be untrackable, because we really can't fathom how quickly this is going to progress. And so that's where what I tell everybody, just learn what it can do right now. Look at your life, find out ways that you can improve what's going on with your work, with your job, with your business, with your life. Create these systems, because there is a big opportunity right now to get these things in motion. Because if you ignore this, if you're in the AI hater crowd and you choose to stay ignorant, be out of hatred, you are not going to recognize the society that is being built around you rapidly in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Wow. I'm getting so much more of appreciation. I always really did for AI. I felt it's like, when the internet came out and there was all those people said, I'm not going to use the internet. And, then they get left behind, like you're talking about. Eventually they crawl up to it and start using it. But they're way behind. So this is the moment to not discount it and get involved. Wow. Incredible insights. And I totally agree with you. I'm going to have to book a session with you and, see where I can go with this. This is fantastic. I love what you're putting out there. And I want to be on the cutting edge. I don't want to get left behind. So you're right. Those people that are, still thinking that this isn't, because look at all the robotics that have been out there for decades, in manufacturing. Look at all the cars. You see the cars going through, and it's like robotics. They've been showing that for decades now. It's not anything new. It's just going to another level where, the Jetsons maid is going to come in and start cleaning your house, so it's, we're there. Finally, we've been saying, where's all this stuff? Here it is. AI is bringing it into fruition.
Yeah. And the robot angle, I was like, oh no, I'm not going to even have a robot. No way. But to then, try and garden and grow enough food for your family and realize how much work is needed out in the field to actually feed yourself. We're nowhere close to being able to grow. We have 10 acres and 2 gardens, and we're nowhere close to being able to feed our family for the winter. Right. But to think that you can buy a robot for 30 grand and it's going to work every day out in the field to grow your family food, that's pretty tempting, right? To actually have some capabilities to actually live off grid. I'm open to it, so long as, like I said, it's running open source software. I get control of the data, and we're not on a subscription model for that thing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And summer, spring, summer, fall, a little bit of fall. You got an outdoor garden, and then you have indoor. You have a greenhouse, and your robot works the greenhouse, and maybe you have a fish pond or whatever. Those ones, just like these things, and they just water. That's part of AI that can be built around that, and then you get a robot thrown in there. Wow, you won't have to like worry about food again. So that's brilliant.
It's pretty exciting times. Like,
No doubt,
yeah,
no
everybody
doubt.
better buckle up.
I agree. And tell us again your website.
You can go to Joshua Hale, JOSHUAHALE.io. And, love to just have a conversation with you. I'm sure you have I look forward to meeting your audience. You can jump on my newsletter where I talk about, homesteading and high tech stuff. And then, be able to jump on one of my courses if you want to learn something.
Yeah, fantastic. Great stuff, Joshua. I look forward to having you back on once we turn another corner in this AI revolution that's going on. So thanks so much for your insights. You are definitely cutting edge with this, and I appreciate your insights.
Thanks, Michael.
President Trump has dissolved the privately owned U.S. Incorporated, while he has returned to America, common law sovereignty under concepts of the original Constitution. In a move that will go down in American history, President Donald J. Trump has officially invoked the authority vested in him under Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, declaring the United States a sovereign nation under common law, no longer under the foreign-controlled corporate structure known as U.S. Incorporated. This declaration of authority and summons, issued and signed directly by Trump, marks the end of Admiralty law rule and the rebirth of the constitutional republic. The era of foreign manipulation, unconstitutional governance and globalist occupation was over. Sunday, 2nd of August, 2026, breaking update. President Trump declares the restoration of the American Republic, U.S. Incorporated dissolved, common law sovereignty returns. This was a historic move on a power struggle of good against evil that has been going on for a very long time. The satanic philosophy of mind control to gain power over the people, including control of their financial system, has been used throughout the centuries by the Illuminati deep state cabal elites. Because of Trump's global military alliance and their ongoing mass arrests happening right now of over 500,000 deep state elites, the cabal's plan to rule the world 2030 was reaching a terminal phase. Sunday, 2nd of August, 2026, boom. Explosive truth about the Nuremberg 2.0 military tribunals and active continuity of government protocols. This fall of the cabal has been greatly helped along with Trump's July 2026 implementation of the global currency reset of 209 nations. It put world currencies at a one-to-one with each other and returned the people's monies back for use of the people rather than the cabal. Sunday, 2nd of August, 2026, bombshell exclusive, Q drop 3565 decoded. It's going to be biblical, the Vatican, the secret network, and the truth about those you were taught to trust the most. We were finally overcoming the cabal's use of mind control to rule the people that greatly increased in 1945 after World War II, when the U.S. recruited over 1,600 Nazi scientists, engineers, and technicians, high-ranking members of the SS, who were complicit in war crimes, to lead the nation's most sensitive scientific and intelligence agencies. In 1995 and 1970 congressional hearings were held on the CIA mind control of children that had been going on since Nazi mind control specialists were brought to the U.S. after World War II. The hearings came about as a result of a successful lawsuit by mind control victim Linda McDonald of the McDonald's hamburger franchise, the McDonald family deeply involved in the Illuminati. Sunday, 2nd of August, 2026. There is a second internet called ARPA 7. There is documentation that lists 4,200 active terminals worldwide. Located in every major intelligence agency, every central bank, every military command structure in NATO, and, here's where it gets dark, 147 private residences. The 147 private terminals have been identified. Their locations logged. Their owners known. Every message sent on ARPA 7 in the last 48 years is now in the hands of the military tribunal. They built a private internet to plan the enslavement of the world. They forgot that every network, no matter how secret, leaves a trace when you have quantum decryption. The second internet just became the largest crime scene in human history. See Sunday, 2nd of August, 2026. The Superior General of the Society of Jesus, known as the Black Pope and his Jesuit order, is a military intelligence structure with a mission to subjugate peoples of the world to the New World Order. Mr. Kidpool on Telegram. They operate through a network of universities, secret societies, and government infiltration that spans the planet. They have spent centuries placing their operatives in the highest levels of education, science, and politics. Most of the world's leaders, from presidents and prime ministers to the heads of central banks, were educated in Jesuit universities, where they are trained in the ability to justify any action, no matter how immoral, if it serves the greater glory of the order. They work in tandem with the Knights of Malta and the CIA, which was founded by Knights of Malta, to manage the global theater. They use their control over education to ensure that each generation is programmed with the correct version of history and science. The Alliance has revealed that the Jesuit Black Pope and the high-ranking members of the order are currently being neutralized. The secret oaths that bound the world's leaders to this military structure are being broken. The Vatican Bank, which served as the primary laundering facility for the order's global operations, has been taken over by the QFS. Possible timing, Judy note, on Saturday 1st of August. 2026. The below dates were published by several valid sources, but could not be confirmed. On Friday, July 31, 2026, the global currency reset ignited across 209 nations as the quantum financial system went fully live overnight. On Monday, August 3, 2026, the Starlink emergency broadcast system streams. On Tuesday, August 4, 2026, 10 days of darkness intensifies with a full media blackout. Starting Thursday, August 6, 2026, initial redemption centers in the US and EU are expected to go live for private appointment scheduling. On Friday, August 7, 2026, martial law enforcement was expected to complete mass arrests of remaining deep state medical elites. Sunday 2nd of August. 2026, the quantum financial system. The structure of control that has governed global finance for more than a century is reaching its terminal phase. What most people still call the cabal is not a single organization but a networked system of central banks, intelligence agencies, private foundations and intergenerational bloodline interests that captured monetary sovereignty after 1913 and expanded it through 2 world wars and the post-1945 order. NESRA, National Economic Security and Recovery Act, and its global counterpart JSR were never cancelled. They were classified, delayed, and buried under successive layers of legal and media suppression. The core mechanisms inside NESRA/JSR include the restoration of constitutional money, the elimination of the Federal Reserve's private control over currency, the forgiveness of certain categories of public and private debt, and the return to an asset-backed monetary standard. These mechanisms were designed to operate in sequence with a new technological layer, the Quantum Financial System, QFS. QFS is not a public blockchain. It is a secured, multi-layered settlement architecture that has been tested and partially activated in the background for years. Its purpose is to replace the legacy SWIFT central bank clearing system with instantaneous, transparent, and auditable settlement that cannot be manipulated by the same institutions that currently sit at the top of the old hierarchy. Stellar was selected as one of the visible public rails that would interface with QFS once the transition order is given. The reason is structural. Stellar already provides fast, low-cost settlement and has been quietly integrated into pilot corridors involving major financial institutions and certain sovereign entities. The flip is the operational name for the final coordinated switch. It is not a single button. It is a sequenced series of actions, the freezing of selected cabal-linked accounts, the simultaneous activation of QFS settlement nodes, the public announcement of NESRA/JSR provisions, and the migration of value onto the new rails, including Stellar. The delay that has frustrated observers is deliberate. Premature disclosure would have triggered capital flight and institutional collapse before the new architecture was fully ready. The current phase is the controlled exposure of the old system's insolvency while the new one is held in readiness. Those who understand the sequence are not waiting for a single event. They are tracking liquidity movements, legal filings, military financial task forces, and the quiet repositioning of physical assets. The cabal still controls the narrative machinery, which is why the public conversation remains focused on distractions. On August 14, 2025, Maxwell named Gates, DARPA, and Rothschild liaisons who ensured satellite masking, submarine access, and exotic energy for 24/7 clone production. Project Genesis began in 2003 after a Bohemian Grove meeting with Gates, Epstein, and Bilderberg agents. The goal: replace natural humans with lab-grown, spiritually dead, programmable entities. It consists of massive, cigar-shaped carrier ships, some over 800 meters long, and a fleet of smaller, triangular scout craft. They don't use liquid fuel, they use anti-gravity and torsion field propulsion, allowing them to travel from Earth to Mars in a matter of hours. Solar Warden was established through a secret alliance between the U.S. military and several non-human factions. Its primary mission is to police our solar system and manage the galactic trade that has been happening behind the backs of the human population. The elite have been trading human resources and ancient artifacts for advanced technology that they keep for themselves and the DUMBS. This is the breakaway civilization, a group of humans who have access to technology, medicine, and knowledge that is hundreds of years ahead of the surface world. They have essentially left the rest of humanity behind in a technological dark age. The Alliance has recently gained control of the Solar Warden command structure. This is why we see a sudden push for Space Force in the public eye. It is the gradual normalization of the technology before the full disclosure. The secret bases on the Moon, Lunar Operations Command, and on Mars are being cleaned of the old Cabal leadership. The Dark Fleet, a rogue faction that was working with negative entities to maintain the Matrix, has been neutralized. The battle for the high ground of space is over, and the assets are being returned to the service of humanity. The Great Disclosure will include the reveal of the Solar Warden fleet and the technology of teleportation and replicator systems that have been used in space for decades. The era of being confined to a single planet is ending. We are moving from being a Type 0 civilization to a galactic one. The U.F.O.s you see in the sky are often our own ships, finally showing themselves as the frequency of the Earth rises. The sky is no longer a limit, it is a bridge. Code, Solar Warden / Breakaway Civilization / Lunar OPS / Space Force Truth. They told you that space was empty and hard to reach. They lied to keep you from realizing they had already moved in. The fleet is coming home. The final frontier was conquered decades ago. It's time for the rest of us to see the view. Q Sunday 2nd of August. 2026 The Jesuit Order, the architects of the Matrix and the power of the Black Pope. While the world looks at the White Pope in the Vatican as the ultimate spiritual authority, the real power lies in the shadows with the superior general of the Society of Jesus, known as the Black Pope. The Jesuit Order is not just a religious organization, it is a military intelligence structure founded by Ignatius of Loyola, a former soldier, with the specific mission of total subjugation of the world under a single global authority. They are the primary architects of the New World Order, operating through a network of universities, secret societies, and government infiltrations that spans the entire planet. The Jesuits are the masters of infiltration instead of invasion. They have spent centuries placing their operatives in the highest levels of education, science, and politics. Most of the world's leaders, from presidents and prime ministers to the heads of central banks, were educated in Jesuit universities like Georgetown, Fordham, or the Gregorian University in Rome. They are trained in the art of casuistry, the ability to justify any action, no matter how immoral, if it serves the greater glory of the order. They are the confessors of the elite, holding the secrets of the powerful and using them as leverage to steer global policy. The Jesuit Order controls the Vatican Intelligence Network, which is the oldest and most extensive in the world. They work in tandem with the Knights of Malta and the CIA, which was founded by Knights of Malta, to manage the global theater. They are the ones who perfected the Hegelian dialectic, creating the problem, managing the reaction, and providing the predetermined solution. Whether it's a revolution, a war, or a financial collapse, the Jesuits are the ones writing the script from the safety of their cloisters. They are the engineers of the mind, using their control over education to ensure that each generation is programmed with the correct version of history and science. The Alliance has revealed that the Jesuit Black Pope and the high-ranking members of the order are currently being neutralized. The secret oaths that bound the world's leaders to this military structure are being broken. The Vatican Bank, which served as the primary laundering facility for the order's global operations, has been taken over by the QFS. The era of the shadow priests ruling through secrecy and psychological warfare is ending. The Black and White Popes are both being removed from the board, and the spiritual sovereignty of humanity is being returned to the individual. The Matrix is losing its architects. Code, Black Pope / Jesuit infiltration / Hegelian dialectic / Society of Jesus. They told you they were teachers and missionaries. They lied to hide the fact that they were the generals of an invisible army. The school is out, and the truth is the new teacher. The power of the robe is fading in the light of the soul. The architects are out of ink, and the building is falling. On Saturday 1st of August, 2026 afternoon, President Trump held an emergency classified briefing at Camp David where he presented the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Space Force Command, CIA Director, NSA director and 23 military strategists undeniable evidence of Iranian weapons smuggling to terrorist organizations. There was satellite imagery, bank transfers and communications intercepts. Everything. The operation was happening in real time as you read this. Space Force satellites were monitoring every movement. Military intelligence was tracking every communication. The deep state elites were panicking. The cabal's proxy in the Middle East was about to be completely dismantled. Politicians who secretly funded Iran were being exposed. Media moguls who covered it up were being arrested. Military contractors who profited from the conflict were under investigation. What happens next? When Trump officially addresses the nation, the full scope of this operation will be revealed. The politicians who funded terrorism will face military tribunals. The generals who betrayed America will be court-martialed. The media that lied to the American people were about to be shut down. The endless war with Iran was over. The age of American strength was beginning. The alliance has won. Trump has won. America has won. The next 48 hours will be explosive. Revelations will be shocking. The world will never be the same. You are witnessing the greatest military operation in American history. You're witnessing the Great Awakening. You're witnessing justice. Code, Operation Iron Shield activated. Code, Iran checkmate complete. Code, Deep State exposed. Code, America winning. The above information was never supposed to leave the Situation Room, but the alliance decided Americans deserve the truth. The deep state media is completely silent because they know what this means. Share this. The Commander-in-Chief is in total control. What we thought we knew, but didn't really know and now are supposed to know but don't have a clue. With clones, doubles, made-up movies Hollywood style and Trump's military alliance throwing more popcorn at us, it gets so confusing. Saturday 1st of August. 2026 The horrible conditions of Democrat-run Lahaina, Maui, Hawaii 3 years after Cabal attacks made over 5,000 residents homeless. Saturday 1st of August. 2026, the Rothschild, Satan worshippers who have controlled European banks since 1815, also have controlled the skies for 47 years through a network of 22 weather modification stations that could direct hurricanes, droughts, floods and earthquakes like Hurricane Katrina and the Haiti 2010 and 2011 earthquakes. Their program called Throne Climate was funded by a labyrinth of NGOs, carbon credit systems and green energy foundations. They caused $4.2 trillion in natural disaster damages since 1979. Why? Because the weather controls everything and the disasters were a money-making venture where they could also further control the people. Food prices, insurance markets, government stability, migration systems, election outcomes. A few days ago, the last Rothschild station was disconnected, seized in an operation by Trump's global military alliance that involved 6 nations. The weather was no longer a weapon for the first time since 1979. Saturday 1st of August. 2026 White Hats have located the advanced systems hidden in Antarctica. Free energy technology is being prepared for a release. Zero-point systems are no longer a theory, they're real. Saturday 1st of August. 2026 The official story of the lone gunman in Dallas on November 22, 1963, is one of the most transparent lies in human history. John F. Kennedy was not killed by Lee Harvey Oswald, he was publicly executed by the deep state as a warning to any future leader who dared to challenge the invisible government. JFK was systematically dismantling the pillars of the cabal's power, the CIA, the military-industrial complex, and most importantly, the private central banking system. The smoking gun that led to his execution was Executive Order 11,110. Signed on June 4, 1963, this order gave the president the authority to issue silver-backed currency, bypassing the Federal Reserve. The alliance has revealed that the mission JFK started is finally being completed. The QFS, Quantum Financial System, is the modern realization of Executive Order 11,110. A return to gold and silver-backed currency that renders the Federal Reserve obsolete. The Secret Service and the CIA structures that facilitated the assassination are being purged. JFK's son, JFK Jr., and the military patriots who remained loyal to the Republic have been working in the shadows for decades to prepare for this moment. Saturday 1st of August. 2026 U.S. Treasury holdings exposed. Over $2.3 trillion in off-ledger assets have been quietly positioned through U.S. Treasury-aligned channels since 2018. They were stored across strategic reserves in Texas, Nevada, Colorado, and Alaska. These assets were never recorded in public balance sheets. Sovereign funds and restructured under emergency authorization protocols. Internal documents link these holdings directly to the ISO 20022 transition framework, preparing a fully asset-backed settlement layer, Tier 4B ISO 20022 on Telegram. See possible timing, Judy note, on Saturday 1st of August. 2026. The below dates were published by several valid sources, but could not be confirmed. On Friday, July 31, 2026, the global currency reset ignited across 209 nations as the quantum financial system went fully live overnight. On Monday, August 3, 2026, the Starlink emergency broadcast system streams. On Tuesday, August 4, 2026, 10 Days of Darkness intensifies with a full media blackout. Starting Thursday, August 6, 2026, initial redemption centers in the US and EU are expected to go live for private appointment scheduling. On Friday, August 7, 2026, martial law enforcement was expected to complete mass arrests of remaining deep state medical elites. Saturday 1st of August. 2026. Starting Thursday 6th of August, initial redemption centers in the US and EU are expected to go live for private appointment scheduling. These centers are pre-designated quantum access locations for early adopters and pre-authorized individuals to transition into the QFS ecosystem. I've seen documentation outlining the process: biometric scan entry, currency exchange at fixed quantum rates, onboarding to sovereign asset accounts, immediate digital wallet deployment. Saturday 1st of August. 2026. Behind the scenes, the banking world is making moves that confirm QFS is locking into place at the highest levels. For the first time, we're seeing clear signs from major financial institutions and authorities that they have embraced the new system. Central banks. Several central banks have quietly updated policies to reflect a gold-backed standard. Today, a few even adjusted official reports to show expanded gold reserves now supporting their currency. Insiders say that just last night, central bankers held emergency calls to coordinate this historic switch. It's subtle, but a global shift to asset-backed money is underway. Major banks. Internal memos at multiple large banks indicate their systems are live on QFS. One top-tier bank even congratulated staff in a confidential bulletin for a successful transition. While public statements remain cautious, these institutions are preparing to guide customers through the changes, from seeing debts wiped off accounts to navigating the new digital wallet interface. Currency revaluations. The long-anticipated global currency reset has begun. Users are now seeing updated exchange rates in their QFS wallets for certain currencies. For example, holders of the Iraqi dinar is reporting dramatically higher values overnight, reflecting those nations' true asset wealth. These quiet adjustments confirm that every currency is being readjusted to its real, commodity-backed worth. Instant settlements. International transfers that once took days are now completing in seconds. Early cross-border tests on QFS saw money sent from Asia to Europe arrive almost instantly, with zero fees. Such speed and efficiency was impossible under the old SWIFT system, proving that banks have indeed switched over to the quantum network for moving funds. Piece by piece, the financial establishment is affirming the QFS revolution. It's no longer speculation or trial runs, it's in progress across the globe. As these institutional confirmations roll in, it won't be long before the whole world acknowledges that the financial system has fundamentally changed. Saturday 1st of August. 2026. The final countdown. QFS activation nears. The quantum financial system is no longer a theory or a distant possibility, it is imminent. The final phase of integration is underway, with global infrastructure shifting to accommodate the most advanced financial architecture ever conceived. Nations are quietly aligning their systems, preparing for the complete and irreversible transition to a gold-backed, transparent economy. Debt slavery ends. Central banks, once the lifeblood of the cabal's control, are being phased out. Trillions in fraudulent debt, created through deception, will be wiped clean. Governments will no longer be able to enslave their people through perpetual borrowing. No more market manipulation. Stock markets, forex, and commodities have long been manipulated by elite financial institutions. With QFS, every transaction is monitored in real time, ensuring fair valuation based on true supply and demand. The age of artificial crashes and economic blackmail is over. Instantaneous settlements. The days of slow, manipulated banking transfers are gone. With quantum processing speeds, transactions will settle instantly, no intermediaries, no hidden fees, no delays. The people will finally have control over their own wealth. The collapse of the fiat system is underway. Look around, the signs are everywhere. Banks are shutting down. Major financial institutions are restructuring. Nations are hoarding gold. The old system is imploding under its own corruption. Governments and elite players are scrambling, but there is no escape. QFS has already accounted for every last piece of hidden wealth, and when the final switch is flipped, their ill-gotten gains will be worthless. The Great Awakening and global economic freedom. The world is about to experience the greatest financial reset in human history, but only those who are prepared will thrive. The coming weeks will be intense. Banking collapses, arrests, and sudden economic shifts will shake the unawakened masses. But for those who understand what is happening, this is the dawn of a new era. Watch for public announcements. The transition will not be hidden much longer. Official disclosures will confirm the QFS activation, marking the true beginning of the wealth redistribution process. Stay out of fear. The chaos you see is the necessary destruction of a broken system. Trust the process. Prepare for prosperity. Those aligned with the new system will witness abundance like never before. Financial oppression is ending, and the future of sovereign wealth is here. Medbed timing. Medbed activation on Telegram. On Friday, July 31, 2026, the global currency reset ignited across 209 nations as the quantum financial system went fully live overnight. Trump's global military alliance seized the final cabal gold vaults. Nizar and Jazara wealth transfers flood sovereign accounts within hours. Simultaneously, U.S. Space Force confirmed holographic medbeds now fully operational inside 840 subterranean restoration centers worldwide. Select groups already healed. The program was called Throne Climate and was funded by a labyrinth of NGOs, carbon credit systems, and green energy foundations, all connected to the same family office in Geneva that has controlled European banks since 1815. A few days ago, the last station was disconnected, seized in a military operation involving 6 nations that have never publicly acknowledged working together. The weather is no longer a weapon. For the first time since 1979, the skies belong to no one. Every natural disaster of the last 47 years had a signature, a digital fingerprint embedded in the ionosphere that preceded it. HAARP researchers have detected it for decades. They were ridiculed, but they were right about everything. Hurricane Katrina, frequency trace detected 72 hours before impact. The 2010 Haiti earthquake has the same frequency signature, originating from a station in Venezuela. The 2011 earthquake, signature attributed to a flagless ship operating in the Pacific. The ship's registration, obtained via QFS maritime tracking, belongs to a company conveniently located in the Cayman Islands. The company's sole director, a family trust of the Rothschild family. They didn't predict disasters, they ordered them. Why control the weather? Because the weather controls everything. Food prices, insurance markets, government stability, migration systems, election outcomes. They didn't need an army. They didn't need murders. They needed rain or drought in the right place at the right time. $4.2 trillion in natural disaster damages since 1979. Betting on the destruction they created. Harvesting the suffering they caused. For the first time in half a century, the rain will fall where it should fall. Our Saturday, 1st of August, 2026, the JFK assassination, Executive Order 11110 and the War on the Federal Reserve. The official story of the lone gunman in Dallas on November 22, 1963, is one of the most transparent lies in human history. John F. Kennedy was not killed by Lee Harvey Oswald, he was publicly executed by the deep state as a warning to any future leader who dared to challenge the invisible government. JFK was systematically dismantling the pillars of the cabal's power, the CIA, the military-industrial complex, and most importantly, the private central banking system. He was the first alliance president of the modern era, and he paid the ultimate price for his attempt to liberate humanity. The smoking gun that led to his execution was Executive Order 11110. Signed on June 4, 1963, this order gave the president the authority to issue silver-backed currency, bypassing the Federal Reserve. JFK had already begun printing $4 billion in United States notes, money that belonged to the people, interest-free, backed by the silver in the Treasury. This was a direct death blow to the Rothschild-owned Federal Reserve. If JFK had lived, the debt slavery system would have been abolished in the 1960s. The bankers could not allow the printing press to be returned to the hands of the people. JFK also famously declared his intention to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the winds after the Bay of Pigs betrayal. He realized that the agency was not serving the United States, but was acting as the private army of the global elite. The alliance has revealed that the mission JFK started is finally being completed. The QFS, Quantum Financial System, is the modern realization of Executive Order 11,110, a return to gold and silver-backed currency that renders the Federal Reserve obsolete. The Secret Service and the CIA structures that facilitated the assassination are being purged. JFK's son, JFK Jr., and the military patriots who remained loyal to the Republic have been working in the shadows for decades to prepare for this moment. The truth about Dallas is the key that unlocks the door, but the truth has a way of coming back to life. The script they wrote in 1963 is being torn up. The era of the puppet presidents is over. Saturday, 1st of August, 2026, it's all connected. Joe Biden issued Anthony Fauci a pardon starting in 2014. 2014 was the year the CIA took over the Ukraine government. Under CIA supervision, Ukraine fell into civil war in February 2014. Obama. It's all connected. So that's like the scariest thing that's ever happened. The potential to destabilize the world more than anything that's happened in my lifetime. Democrats have been involved with Ukraine biolabs since the CIA overthrew the Ukraine government. Many speculate this is the whole reason Ukraine was chosen for the war. It's very clearly the reason why Anthony Fauci was pardoned back until 2014. Saturday, 1st of August, 2026 Operation Paperclip, the Nazi roots of the modern deep state. In 1945, as the smoke cleared from the ruins of World War II, the United States government launched a top-secret program that would change the course of human history. Known as Operation Paperclip, this initiative involved the recruitment of over 1,600 Nazi scientists, engineers, and technicians, many of whom were high-ranking members of the SS and complicit in war crimes. They weren't brought to America to face justice, they were brought to lead the nation's most sensitive scientific and intelligence agencies. The Third Reich didn't die in a bunker in Berlin, it was transplanted into the heart of the American military-industrial complex. The most famous of these recruits was Wernher von Braun, the mastermind behind the V-2 rocket that terrorized London. In the U.S., he became the father of the space program and the first director of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. But the space he was building was not for the benefit of humanity. Von Braun and his colleagues brought with them the occult knowledge and advanced propulsion theories that the Nazis had been developing in secret. They used the NASA narrative as a front to continue their research into anti-gravity, frequency weapons, and mind control. The Fourth Reich was not built with tanks and soldiers, but with patents and laboratory coats. Operation Paperclip also birthed the CIA. Nazi intelligence officers, led by Reinhard Gecklin, were integrated into the U.S. intelligence community to form the Gecklin Organization, which eventually became the backbone of the CIA's clandestine operations. They brought with them the techniques of psychological warfare, mass surveillance, and black site interrogations that they had perfected in Europe. This is why the modern deep state operates with the same ruthless efficiency and secrecy as the organizations it supposedly defeated. The global elite didn't win the war, they simply changed uniforms. The alliance has revealed that the influence of Operation Paperclip is finally being purged. The secret documents that link modern corporate and government structures to these Nazi roots are being declassified. The New World Order was the ultimate goal of the Paperclip scientists, a world managed by a scientific elite through technology and fear. But the Great Awakening is exposing these foundations. As the truth of NASA and the CIA's origins comes to light, the Fourth Reich is collapsing. The paperclips are being removed, and the files of history are being corrected. Code, Paperclip Secret /Fourth Reich /Von Braun Legacy /CIA Origins. They told you they defeated the enemy. They lied to hide the fact that they gave the enemy a new office and a new budget. The uniform changed, but the agenda stayed the same. The war never ended, it just went into the shadows. But the shadows are disappearing in the light of the truth. Use Saturday, 1st of August, 2026. The Bohemian Grove, the mock sacrifice and the real power behind the curtain, Mr. Kidpool on Telegram. Every July, for over 140 years, the most powerful men in the world, presidents, CEOs, media moguls, and high-ranking military officials, gather in a 2,700-acre redwood forest in Monte Rio, California. This is Bohemian Grove. They claim it represents the casting off of the cares and responsibilities of the world, but whistleblowers and infiltrators like Alex Jones have revealed that the ceremony is a deeply occult ritual designed to bond the elite, blackmail the elite, through shared participation in a symbolic act of darkness. It is the public admission that for these men, the care for humanity is something to be burned away. The real business of the Grove happens during the lakeside talks. These are off-the-record speeches where major global policies are debated and finalized. It was at the Bohemian Grove in 1942 that the Manhattan Project, the development of the atomic bomb, was allegedly conceived and planned. Decisions about who will be the next president, which wars will be funded, and how the global economy will be restructured are made over drinks in the woods. This is the shadow government in its most literal form, a private club where the democratic process is replaced by the whims of the 13 bloodlines and their associates. The alliance has revealed that the Grove is one of the primary frequency nodes for the cabal's control system. The rituals performed there are designed to anchor a low-vibration energy into the Earth's grid. However, the White Hats have recently infiltrated the Grove's security systems and recorded the lakeside talks of the last few years. This evidence is being used to build the cases for the global tribunals. The owl is being exposed, and the men who think they can hide in the redwoods are finding that there is nowhere left for the shadows to exist. The cremation of care is being replaced by the exposure of truth. Code: Bohemian Grove / Moloch Ritual / Lakeside Talks / Shadow Government. They told you it was just a gentleman's club. They lied to hide the fact that they were deciding your future in the dark. The forest is quiet, but the secrets are screaming. The elite think they are the ones who hold the fire. They forgot that the light belongs to everyone. Saturday 1st of August, 2026. In 1945, after World War II, the U.S. recruited over 1,600 Nazi scientists, engineers, and technicians, high-ranking members of the SS, who were complicit in war crimes, to lead the nation's most sensitive scientific and intelligence agencies. The torture divided their thinking patterns into multiple personalities which their perpetrators could then control throughout their lives. Their testimonies were never released to the public and video recordings were erased from the internet. No further investigation was ever started, let alone completed, after the 1970s and 1995's congressional hearings. All three witnesses later died of mysterious causes, their dramatic information about blackmail and bribery of Congress members having been covered up. Congress has never acted on these heinous crimes of the CIA that were believed still going on today.
An emergency broadcast. I saw this earlier where the fires in Washington were approaching Spokane, Washington. And I was like, check back on that. So I checked back and sure enough, it is burning houses. Emergency evacuations are going on. It looks like directed energy weapon use to me. All right. We're seeing the telltale signs, trees burning from within, out in the middle of nowhere. The branches are completely nothing going on, but the whole trunk of the tree is on fire. Directed energy weapon. There's homes that are burned where there's, again, trees all around them, but the houses are burning. So we'll see tomorrow, probably some devastation. But right now, as we're speaking, there's emergency evacuations, people having to leave their homes very quickly. It's looks pretty devastating. And there's a In-N-Out Burger shooting, mass shooting. Now we know Spokane, Washington is a conservative enclave. It's kind of like some of the other places that have been hit by directed energy weapon attacks. So conservative places, seems like they're going after them. Now we saw that Fauci was basically brought before, humiliated in front of, and now I think all bets are off, and the deep state is going to really sock it to us. And we talked about this as we start to take down the deep state and start to expose them. They're going to come. They're really going to start to unleash a lot of stuff on us. So I think this is what we're seeing right now: the fires up and down Northern California to Washington State, Oregon State. Fires are out of control, and a lot of those areas. And we're seeing a conservative company, the CEO of In-N-Out Burger, decided to leave California because it was so bad. And this is kind of the stuff we're going to start to see. Now, remember in Idaho, we had those college kids that were stabbed. I basically said that was a false flag that they did on that one, and I proved a lot of things on that. So Idaho seems to be a pretty bad place. They got some bad people in there that are doing some pretty out of control stuff. So let's jump in. Let's look at some of the stuff that's going on out there. So there's a live feed that I'm looking at, and just like I said, looks like these houses are catching on fire. Now you're going to see here, back here, there's trees on fire, but it looks like the houses caught them on fire. Right? It's not the trees that are on fire that are bringing the fire to the homes. The homes are being directed energy weapon attacked, I believe, and they're catching the trees on fire. So look at this.
It's in the Spokane, Washington area. Look at that. Let's go look this for a second. It's pretty. Okay, so they are saying the county commissioners are meeting in about a minute. They are going to be declaring a state of emergency. This is bad. This is bad. This is very, very bad.
Evacuations along Indian Trail. We've had people report it took them 4 hours to get out of the traffic. There was a bottleneck that wasn't moving. Barnes Road was shut down there, which is right near the Indian Trail Shopping Center. Rudder Parkway has been affected. And then if you go a little higher elevation up Strong Road to 5 Mile Prairie, there was major evacuations there. There's some reports that some homes on the 5 Mile Prairie might be lost, but that has not been confirmed by officials. But we can tell you this fire just burned a path from west to east and the northwest quadrant of town. Let's take you back to Heidi Miley live. Heidi.
This is crazy.
All right. Hi, Sean. We just arrived here along Highway 2. I'm checking where Espanola Road is. That's what I'm near. And we are about 20 miles east of Davenport. We are.
All right. So I'm pretty concerned about, like I've talked about these deep state states, right? Democrat states. Now, Spokane is a very conservative area. It's being burned, and they have police that are starting to block off roads, just like they did in Lahaina. All right, so there was just a report that it was taking people 4 hours to get out of a certain area trying to evacuate, and one of the reasons because they're shutting down roads. All right. Some for good reason, because they're in areas into neighborhoods where the fire is being directed, in my opinion. But we're going to have to, I've been saying for a long time, we're going to have to get out of these big blue cities, guys, and the states themselves now. You can be a conservative in one of these blue states like Oregon or Washington or California, and they're going to burn you out of your homes. And so, this is some of the things. This is my opinion. I've been watching this stuff. A lot of people have been watching this stuff. You can, figure this out for yourself. Maybe it's a nothing burger to you, but for me, I'm very concerned about this. Right? I've been talking about this for quite some time. All right, so let's look at some of these other. So I just threw this together real quick. I checked back in to see what was going on, and as it stands now, thousands have been ordered to flee homes as fast-moving wildfire grows in Spokane County, Washington. And it's nighttime. As you see behind me, it's nighttime here. Pretty much, the whole U.S. is nighttime now. We're the last ones to get the light here on the West Coast, but those guys are evacuating in the dark, right? Not good. And then you're going to have some of these people are going to go into roads that are like clogged with, people trying to flee, just like we saw in Paradise, California, where people tried to flee and, they were getting stuck trying to flee, and again, people burned to death in their cars. All right, so and that makes no sense. So in some of those areas where people burned to death in their cars, there was, the forest on either side of the road wasn't touched. So again, you're in a deep blue state, and you're a conservative. You're gonna have to be careful now, guys. It's on. All right, they're coming after conservatives now, and now we're coming after them for trying to force that on us. We're even coming after those Democrats. They don't even realize it, that they were forced to get the vaccination as well, and that communism is trying to take over a lot of these Democrat states. It's getting out of control, right? So thousands are fleeing. The Old Trails fire, as they're calling it, fueled by extreme fire weather conditions, has burned nearly 3,000 acres, and they're starting to burn buildings. Right, so adding about 4,000 buildings are threatened in the area. The full extent of the damage is not yet clear. We won't know, because now it's night. We won't know until the morning what kind of devastation they're going to do. Right, this is a very, very tragic thing. I don't know about you guys, but we're gonna have to stop this, because law enforcement is involved, politicians are involved, the judicial's involved, and we the people are being hunted and destroyed. Our homes now, and our lands, we are being destroyed, literally, figuratively, on many different levels. We're gonna have to use the Constitution, because they are not letting us use the Constitution to go after them and get them out of power. So we're going to have to do something else. All right. This is something that really needs to be looked at very carefully. And it's not for me to, say that we're going to do this or that. It's just that legally we have to start to band together and have our own groups, constitutional groups, with law enforcement on our side, judicial on our side, and start to take these people out. All right. They're causing these fires. I've talked to people that said that they're part of firefighting, and they weren't calling them to come fight fires. They're letting them get out of control like this. So we're seeing what they're doing. We're seeing what they're doing now, right? You got fires burning in towns. You've got level 3 evacuations like I haven't seen before. Well said. This is a very dangerous and very complex series of events, and it's unfolding very rapidly in the darkness now. All right. I hope these people, I pray for these people. They need prayers. So send their prayers. Okay. So here is a little bit more news on that situation.
Near 291 Northwest Spokane. Our team coverage on this major breaking story continues with Haley Gunther.
Sean, we are live here near Providence and Northwest Boulevard, where you can see a massive plume of smoke.
Now, this is 4 hours ago. As you see, it's still light there. But in the background, you're going to be able to see homes. And it's approaching.
Flames continuing to pop up throughout this region. It is heartbreaking. It is devastating as the winds continue to whip around. I spoke with a couple moments ago, and they say it took them about 30 minutes, Sean, to make it about a mile as they were rushing to evacuate their home. The husband actually describing it as what looked like a war zone. And you are continuing to see this rapid spread, this rapid growth. I'm going to bring in Brent here. So Brent lives just on the fringe of those level 3 evacuation orders. But Brent, I know that you're extremely uneasy. A lot of your neighbors, you can see, are putting water on their fences, on their homes. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. This is a cataclysmic event that's happening right now. We're watching it from the ridge all the way to the VA hospital. Palisades fire that you saw.
Similar to a Palisades fire. Yes, because they're coming after our towns, guys. Very similar, right? They're burning us out of our towns now.
in California a couple years ago. This is really, truly devastating. And the wind just makes it insurmountable for these firemen to even get a handle on it. They're throwing everything they can at it, but as you can see on the ridge, we're watching houses burn.
Yeah, I'm going to have my photographer zoom in there. As you can see, flames are continuing to pop up there. And that's been the scene here for the past hour, just seeing that rapid spread.
So it's just one of those things that people need to be prepared. And when they tell you to evacuate, evacuate. Get what you can and get out, because there's nothing worse than a fire of this. This is just a tragedy we're witnessing here, and it's just really sad. So yeah, we're right on the fringe of it, but the wind's blowing away from our houses, but we're all sort of getting prepared in case it changes. So yeah, it's really sad. It's a sad deal.
Yeah, the couple I spoke to that rushed to evacuate under that level 3, they said that they grabbed medication and documents, and that was it. They were out in a second. And you just see that. You can see those flames continue to pop up, and it's been in multiple spots there.
Yes, it's just they've evacuated pretty much as many people. They've shut down Northwest.
All right, so this is the way it always happens, doesn't it? They can't give us enough warning because they don't want to give us enough warning, because they're directing these fires very quietly, very, very psychopathically, and they're not putting people in positions that can stop these fires because they want them to burn these towns. All right. So this is some of the stuff we're starting to witness, and I say that because we're going after the deep state, Fauci and his crew, what would you guys want? Because you guys, like me, you've been like, well, when we're going to arrest these guys, this is the consequence of doing that, right? This type of stuff. And it's going to get a lot worse. Going to get a whole lot worse before, we really start to, lean on these guys and take more of these people down. Now, here is someone was driving through a neighborhood, evacuating, I would imagine. And they're getting some of the shots. So we're going to get a lot more of this tomorrow. I'll do a more in-depth show, and this is directed energy weapon attack. Absolutely. All right. So again, house burning, trees all around it, not touched. Directed energy weapon attack. This house, nothing left, right? Down to ashes. Sinks, porcelain sinks, metal washers and dryers, stoves, all that metal, nothing left. All right, so there is some charred area. Of course, when you light houses on fire, that can spread. Looks like it has spread. Maybe some of the directed energy weapons, were strategically hit certain areas that were very dry. Maybe they did a lot of maybe even during the night where people can't see it. They came across and dumped the aluminum from the planes. All right, so that gets in the trees, and that causes these fires to go into like super fire mode. So that's probably some of the stuff they've done too. Maybe some people there would know about that, could talk about that. But there's not a lot of people that understand this, and a lot of people still discount it. So these devastating fires happen. Of course, it's a tragedy that people are going through this. You think we'd rise up together and just take down these governments that are basically these city governments, and obviously and the state governments and so forth that are basically doing this stuff, so are allowing it to happen. So and like I said, I've talked to people when I was up in Washington State on James Gilliland's ranch that are part of or somebody told me that they knew someone that is part of fighting these fires, and they told her that they weren't directed to go to some of these fires, and so they sent people themselves. And They saw that these fires were way out of control and they should have been called long ago. So this is part of what these governments do, guys. All right. They're part of, taking out the people that are going to resist them, the people of Spokane, Lahaina, wherever, Paradise, Palisades, you name the place where conservative people are, and they're being burned out of their homes, right? So we're the resistance, and they're taking down the resistance, right? So this is war against us, total war against us, and also physical war, like we're seeing in Idaho at In-N-Out, like I talked about. So let's look at this. So this is ongoing. Somebody went in and shot up an In-N-Out burger because the In-N-Out burger is basically Christian backed. Their CEO does not like the policies of the deep state in California and left. And so they're being punished. And they're being punished in a place evidently where they have control, Idaho. Right. So we've seen this is another shooting, stabbing in the other instance, those college kids that supposedly were stabbed. I don't believe they were. And was this real? We'll have to see. We'll have to see the information as we go forward. But I wouldn't doubt that they did an attack on In-N-Out. That makes total sense to me.
Is that we've had a shooting at the In-N-Out location that has resulted in fatalities. I don't have the exact number confirmed. We're still trying to make notification of their next of kin. We're trying to work.
Okay, earlier, this is like about an hour or so ago where this meeting came out. They were saying like 3, and I don't know if that's a shooter 2 or what, but there was many that were wounded. So some of those that are wounded could succumb to their wounds. Might be why he's saying, we don't have the numbers yet. So, but initially they put out
St. Luke's in our coroner's office to ascertain the exact numbers of fatalities. We also have a number, literally hundreds of people that were in some way, shape, or form in the area of this restaurant at the time that are being interviewed right now. The resources for all of our agencies are completely on board. We are interviewing as many people as we can, but we're encouraging the public, if you have any information about this incident, whether you directly saw something, you have any information about it, to let us know. I can also reassure the community right now, we believe that the threat to the community is over. The suspected shooter in this incident.
All right, again, they're not going to tell us when they're going to do their attacks, right? There's probably somebody that knew, probably somebody saw the threat. Probably somebody that saw this, who knows, maybe a Manchurian candidate activated. There's probably some people that knew that he was potentially, he should have been put away. That's probably some of the stories will come. I don't know. We're just hearing about this. So that's pretty much, what's going to happen. More attacks. These are just my opinions, of course. I'm not there. I can't gather the information. All I can do is observe. But it's very similar to other things that we've talked about and other people have talked about as far as direct-to-energy weapon use and attacks on conservative institutions and so forth, conservative neighborhoods. This is a ongoing thing, and it's not going to stop. All right, it's not going to stop until we completely and absolutely take down the deep state. Right, we obviously need to get more aggressive. They're at war with us. They've gone totally kinetic with us on us in the United States. These direct-to-energy weapon attacks and these setting these fires and so forth. That's an assault on us, and it's pretty devastating. So we have to get rid of them all. That's right. All of them, right? We know who they are. We know who they are, right? So I don't know. I mean, we keep hearing that we're gonna, these guys are gonna go to justice or whatever. All it is talk. 6 years BS, and all we get is like tongue lashing of Fauci, right? That's all we got right now. And this is the result of that, I think. All right, some of this is probably, there's a lot more that's coming. There's a lot more that we could probably tie to this or that. And so we do this, they do that. This is the way wars are fought. All right, guys, that's all I got for now. Just want to jump on here and get this information out there so you guys are informed. Do your own research. Pray for those people. They're in Spokane. They're going to need it. They're in the midst of horrifying situation. Who knows how it's going to end for some of these people. All right, lots of love. Stay in the love vibration, and we'll see you guys next time.
These same criminals were behind the Act of 1871 that gave them power over U.S. taxpayer monies and thus the global financial system. The Illuminati, CCP, Khazarians, Rothschilds, Vatican, Obama's U.S. Inc., and Zionists were the real leaders in the New World Order depopulation Agenda 2030. They have been implementing AI control of the world's population. Silicon Valley algorithms were engineered by intelligence agencies to suppress sovereign thought, alternative history, and spiritual awakening. In July 2026, thanks to the BRICS Alliance and Trump, Global Military Alliance, the new quantum financial system was implemented worldwide. More than 85% of countries have joined this quantum financial grid. Implementation of the quantum financial system's global currency reset to gold asset-backed currency of 209 nations that trades at one with each other has allowed President Trump to reverse the Act of 1871 and the 1913 Federal Reserve and City of London Act. Those acts alone allowed the deep state cabal to set up their privately owned Federal Reserve and IRS. The 6 major corporate media conglomerates were entirely run by CIA and Mossad assets. Their sole directive was to project low-frequency fear, keeping humanity trapped in loops of helplessness, division, and artificial scarcity for the sake of the New World Order depopulation, Agenda 2030. Reversal of the acts meant no more U.S. Inc., UK Crown and Vatican control over U.S. taxpayer monies, plus dissolved the Commonwealth, Maritime Law, and Balfour Declaration. The U.S. returned to a new republic functioning under concepts of the original Constitution. A new age of freedom and liberty was born for the world. That has happened with help of the Global Alliance and BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China less the CCP, and South Africa. Every reunion is a reminder that compassion, dignity, and family can transcend even the darkest of times. War. My representative and I continue working with the governments of Russia and Ukraine to safely return children to their families and communities. Sidney Powell. The CIA knew there was foreign interference in the stolen 2020 election, and they knew these machines were compromised. The goal was always to control the outcome of our elections. Both Democratic and Republican politicians have been diverting children's, healthcare, and education funds into their own political campaigns. Trump's military tribunals were in full swing at Gitmo, where lies of the deep state elites were falling apart in the biggest takedown in history. Evidence comes into sealed military grand juries. A military official confirms that military trials of deep state leadership have been held at Guantanamo since 2020. Quantum monitoring technology can catch war criminals who are involved in trafficking, bioterrorism, election interference, and satanic crimes. The quantum financial system and quantum judicial network were getting information from these testimonies that destroy the deep state systems for finance, law, and surveillance. Trump's troops have taken control of more than 1,700 planes that were used for trafficking, attacked hangars, crews were questioned. Every CEO was put in the QFS for later judgment. Some courts have already given people death sentences. The law of war is in effect. Airline CEO testimonies revealed global currency reset. WED 29 July 2026. The quantum financial system has officially gone live, marking the beginning of the greatest financial revolution in history. With quantum satellites now operational and military-guarded nodes securing transactions, the old system is crumbling. Cabal-controlled wealth has been seized, and the global currency reset is in full motion, ensuring a fair and transparent financial future for all. The shift to a decentralized, corruption-free economy is no longer speculation, it's reality. The world is on the brink of a quantum leap, and those who are prepared will witness the transformation firsthand. WED. 29 July 2026 Marksy. Looks like Reno is getting ready to exchange. I have 2 contacts, paymasters, headed to Reno tomorrow. 31 July 2026. Tier 4 Internet Group and Zim bondholders will receive redemption appointments. Thurs. 30 July 2026 Bruce. The Big Call Universe, IBIZ. Com. 667-770-1866 sources say Tier 4B us, the Internet Group, could be notified tomorrow Fry. 31 July 2026 with exchanges starting SAT. 1 AUG. Currency exchanges and Zim redemption at redemption centers could go to Fry. 21 AUG. 2026. Redemption centers will give you higher currency exchange rates, will give the dinar contract rate, and can redeem Zim bonds. Banks cannot. On that Fry. 21 AUG. 2026 banks will begin exchanging for the general public. Wells Fargo is in charge of redemption centers for the U.S. HSBC and Scotiabank are available in Canada. The new U.S. Treasury note will be available in cash at the redemption center. If you are a Zim holder and you have a dire health need, the final countdown, QFS activation NEARS. The quantum financial system is no longer a theory or a distant possibility, it is imminent. The final phase of integration is underway, with global infrastructure shifting to accommodate the most advanced financial architecture ever conceived. Nations are quietly aligning their systems, preparing for the complete and irreversible transition to a gold-backed, transparent economy. Debt slavery ends, central banks, once the lifeblood of the cabal's control, are being phased out. Trillions in fraudulent debt, created through deception, will be wiped clean. Governments will no longer be able to enslave their people through perpetual borrowing. No more market manipulation. Stock markets, forex, and commodities have long been manipulated by elite financial institutions. With QFS, every transaction is monitored in real time, ensuring fair valuation based on true supply and demand. The age of artificial crashes and economic blackmail is over. Instantaneous settlements, the days of slow, manipulated banking transfers are gone. With quantum processing speeds, transactions will settle instantly. No intermediaries, no hidden fees, no delays. The people will finally have control over their own wealth. The collapse of the fiat system is UNDRWAY. Look around. The signs are everywhere. Banks are shutting down. Major financial institutions are restructuring. Nations are hoarding gold. The old system is imploding under its own corruption. Governments and elite players are scrambling, but there is no escape. QFS has already accounted for every last piece of hidden wealth, and when the final switch is flipped, their ill-gotten gains will be worthless. The Great Awakening and global economic freedom. The world is about to experience the greatest financial reset in human history, but only those who are prepared will thrive. The coming weeks will be intense. Banking collapses, arrests, and sudden economic shifts will shake the unawakened masses. But for those who understand what is happening, this is the dawn of a new era. Watch for public announcements. The transition will not be hidden much longer. Official disclosures will confirm the QFS activation, marking the true beginning of the wealth redistribution process. Stay out of fear. The chaos you see is the necessary destruction of a broken system. Trust the process. Prepare for prosperity. Those aligned with the new system will witness abundance like never before. Financial oppression is ending, and the future of sovereign wealth is here. The quantum financial system, QFS, has been operating behind the scenes, monitoring all banking transactions in preparation for its full activation. This off-world technology will revolutionize the financial world, rendering corrupt systems obsolete and ensuring a gold or asset-backed economy free from manipulation. The end of the cabal's banking empire. The QFS has replaced the SWIFT system with an unhackable, AI-driven network supported by the secret space program. It was designed to dismantle the deep state's control, preventing illegal wealth accumulation through usury, fraud, and theft. The days of corrupt politicians and bankers laundering money in secrecy are over. QFS monitors every transaction in real time. The QFS has been running parallel to the existing system, exposing financial corruption. THRS, 30 July 2026 ISO 20022 doesn't directly expose fraud. It forces the systems that receive the data to expose it. 20022 doesn't directly expose fraud. It forces the systems that receive the data to expose it. Under MT, a message might say only, funds transferred details on file. Under ISO 20022, the same transaction must specify exact source of funds, exact economic purpose, exact ownership structure, exact intermediary chain, exact fees, spreads, FX rates, exact regulatory category, exact counterparty information, machine readable, machine auditable, right arrow, machine reconcilable. The opacity dies, not because ISO 20022 accuses anyone, but because everything is finally described in forensic detail. This is the transparency upgrade. This blows open hidden flows, skimming, off-ledger pools, errors, mismatches, misallocated collateral, etc. Banks, correspondent networks, FX desks, and clearinghouses have relied for decades on. Omnibus accounts, blended fee buckets, net settlements, smoothing, miscoded purpose fields, internal suspense accounts, delayed reconciliation. ISO 20022 wipes out the shadows where these techniques lived. Not by accusation, but by precision. The post-cutover world becomes deterministic, not probabilistic under MT. Trust us, it balances. Under ISO 20022, prove it. Every field, every hop, every custodian, every fee, every spread, every timestamp. This is an audit-grade digital paper trail. The only ones who fear this level of illumination are those who depend.
This is all a massive psyop. And yes, technically, they're telling you the truth. But these tens of thousands of people crossing over into Spain have actually crossed over into an enclave of Spain in Africa called Ceuta. This is all done as a psyop. They haven't actually come into the mainland of Spain as yet. Although, if the psyop doesn't work, I'm sure they'll put them on the next boat. This is all supposed to wake you up so that you can see what's going on. This is all a movie. This is all a pantomime. I've told you, and I've told you, and I've told you. The sooner people wake up to the pantomime, the movie, what's going on, the quicker we can get through it. But this has to be done to wake up the masses. What's happening in South Korea with the collapse of the stock market? This is a trigger that will cause a knock-on effect of huge scale. The same with Japan selling all of their bonds and their stocks, US bonds, US stocks. This is all part of the collapsing of the old United States hegemony, the system. And Donald Trump is at the heart of collapsing the old US, the United States of America corporation. The one that was the United Kingdom, or the City of London, not the United Kingdom, the City of London had total control over, but no longer. This is all being dismantled in plain sight. And it's very interesting when you listen to what's going on here in the Middle East. The blockade of the Straits of Hormuz, which stops American shipping from going through whilst everyone else does, actually hurts America more than anybody. And the United States of America Corporation thought it would hurt China. They'd just forgotten one thing. China has become far less dependent on oil than America. China, many years ago, moved across to electronics, electric cars. 60% of the cars in China run on electric, not on solid fuel. as in petroleum, gasoline, diesel. So the United States of America have actually gone into this without knowing the damage that they've done to the US, they've done to themselves. But this is all part of the plan to dismantle the old United States of America corporation. But what will happen is there will be the birth of America, not the United States, America, 37 countries coming together in prosperity, and that includes Cuba and Venezuela and Mexico and Canada, and the list goes on.
The global election rigging machine just GOT exposed. And it started with a bet. Mr. Poole on Telegram, the mainstream media is trying to contain the damage. They are calling it a UK Conservative Party betting scandal. They want you to believe that a few British politicians simply used inside information to win money on election dates. They are lying. This is not about gambling. This is about global election manipulation. Here are the facts they cannot suppress. Multiple high-ranking officials are under active investigation by gambling regulators. The chief data officer of the ruling party has been forced to step down. Millions of dollars are moving through offshore accounts. The investigation is expanding daily, pulling in more politicians who thought they were untouchable. But here is the terrifying truth that military intelligence has uncovered. These betting markets are not casinos. They are the new deep state mechanism for laundering money to fund election interference worldwide. The alliance has tracked the financial flows. The £5 million gifts from foreign billionaires. The offshore accounts. The synchronized betting patterns. It is all a sophisticated cover to move untraceable funds to operatives who rig elections, suppress truth, and maintain the deep state's grip on power. What is happening in the UK right now is exactly what they have been doing in the United States. The same players, the same offshore accounts, the same manipulation. But Donald Trump and his military intelligence team have been watching. They allowed the deep state to use these markets because it created a digital paper trail. Every transaction was recorded. Every politician who took the bait is now trapped in the net. The panic in London is mirroring the panic in Washington, D.C. The globalist elite realize their entire financial mechanism for controlling elections has been exposed. The UK scandal is just the first domino to fall. When Trump returns, the full scope of this international money laundering operation will be declassified. The globalist politicians who sold out their countries will face military tribunals. The evidence is overwhelming, and the traps have already been sprung. Code. Election market rigging global LAUNDRNG nexus / UK domino falling / the trap is sprung. The stage is being set. The Great Awakening is not just American, it is global. A NASA senior engineer just escaped to Switzerland. He worked on the BLACKTAIL project for 11 years. He just leaked the FILES. He made contact with our secure server 24 hours ago. His security clearance and employment records have been fully verified. He worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, and a classified underground facility in Nevada from 2013 to 2025, on a propulsion system that the public is told is physically impossible. He calls it Project Etha. His exact words, unedited. In 2018, we didn't just receive a signal from deep space. We decoded a blueprint, a complete geometric formula for reactionless zero-point energy and sublight propulsion. The first time I saw it tested in the Nevada desert, the test vehicle, a disc 30 meters wide, lifted off the ground without sound, without heat exhaust, and without burning a single drop of fuel. It reached Mars orbit in 3 hours. Not months, not years, 3 hours. I watched instruments lock onto the Martian atmosphere while eating my morning coffee in the observation bunker. We had humanity stepping onto another planet a decade ago. I asked the program director, when do we announce this to the public? Energy crises would end tomorrow. He laughed and said, Kid, the global economy runs on oil and debt. If free energy drops, the power structure collapses before nightfall. In 11 years, I cataloged 44 unmanned probes sent to the outer solar system using ETHA Drive's 12 crewed orbital flights, establishing deep space infrastructure, zero carbon emissions, zero fuel costs, 100% limitless clean, power the total suppression of 19 independent inventor patents globally. The worst part wasn't the secrecy. It was watching the news. I would leave a facility where we were mapping out mining operations on the moons of Jupiter and drive home past gas stations charging $5 a gallon, watching families choose between groceries and heating their homes. I would see governments arguing over carbon taxes and climate crises, and I knew we had solved energy forever, locked behind 3-inch steel doors 500 feet beneath the desert sand. Why he fled. Last month, they approved the commercialization of the technology, but exclusively for private orbital defense stations controlled by 3 megacorporations. The public was scheduled to get a carbon tax increase in the same fiscal quarter. They were going to tax people for the air they breathe while using free space drive tech for corporate expansion. I copied 40 gigabytes of schematics onto an encrypted drive, walked out of the gate, and didn't stop driving until I crossed the border. Why he's RELESNG it now? I am not hiding anymore. They can label me a traitor, but the real treason is keeping humanity chained to the Stone Age while the stars are already within our reach. I have telemetry data. I have financial trails linking defense contractors to the suppression orders. I have the names of every official who signed off on the blackout. The technology belongs to humanity, not to a board of directors. His final message: to every person struggling with an energy bill this winter, you were lied to. The universe is overflowing with infinite power. They kept it from you to keep you dependent. To the engineers and scientists still inside, you know the math, you know it works. Walk out before it's too late. To the agency, you can lock my lab, but you can't unleak the Gitmo GROWS as GSARA activation, SDRTS. Trump's military TRIBUNLS are in full swing. Airline CEO TSDM1IS revealed deep state flight RUTES, and Fiat collapse is imminent, is growing under the direct control of the U.S. Marines, who work for President Donald J. Trump, the real commander-in-chief in 2025. The lies of the fake government are falling apart. The storm is tearing through elite networks behind the scenes. There are no more ways out, found hiding places. In the biggest takedown in history, evidence comes into sealed military grand juries. These aren't upgrades, they're expansions of war prisons. New blocks with a lot of security. Quantum monitoring technology can catch war criminals who are involved in trafficking, bioterrorism, election interference, and satanic crimes. An insider leak confirms that several airline CEOs are giving testimony while being protected. They didn't just run airlines, they also ran secret trafficking routes with private jets, hidden cargo, fake manifests, and secret terminals. Kids, black budget tech, and stolen goods are all up in the air, out of sight of the public. Their encrypted flight logs back up what the whistleblower said. A lot of them lead to black sites in the Caribbean, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. Trump never lost power. He set off the military chain of command in 2021 with secret orders that are now being carried out with exact precision. The quantum financial system and quantum judicial network are getting information from these testimonies. They are meant to destroy the deep state systems for finance, law, and surveillance. GSARA is no longer coming. It's already happening. More than 85% of countries have joined the quantum financial grid. People in test areas are getting quantum access cards. The wealth that has been stolen for hundreds of years will be given back to we the people. Control of more than 1,700 planes that were used for trafficking. Attacked hangars. Crews were questioned. Every CEO was put in the QFS for later judgment. Some courts have already given people death sentences. The law of war is in effect. This isn't politics.
To that. Now, at this moment, it's about closing ranks. You may disagree and still be a good guy whether or not we should pause the election this fall. But at the end of the day, it's not everybody's, it's not up for discussion at some level. The decision, I would contend, has already been made. And in order to protect the republic, there isn't any way to fix the election system before November 3rd this year. Why? Because it's already fixed. You already have candidates on the ballot through fraudulent primaries, fraudulent votes in the primaries because you didn't clean the voter rolls and you didn't fix the election systems, machines, etc. So now you have, if you did go proceed forward with the vote, you would have a fraudulent election no matter what at this point this year on November 3rd. And you have states like California trying to bring in other allied states to go forward no matter what Trump does within a commander-in-chief role. So there is going to be civil unrest, and there is going to be stuff at the state level to challenge Trump's support.
How much civil unrest? How many threats have we neutralized, Juanito? Have we neutralized, what, 60%, 70, 80%? How many of the threats have we neutralized? I mean, what are they willing to do? What are they capable of doing?
I don't know if I could quantify that precisely because there's different levels of threat. You know, we even within what the president is doing, buying time over this last 5 years through a prior election, another midterm, the presidential election, 2024. How do you gauge the magnitude of each individual threat, the country falling into civil war or nuclear devices? Remember, the lead up to the 2024 election, we had everything that could fly out searching for any hidden signatures of nukes loose in America, as well as other places. We still haven't located all of those missing nukes. And in fact, there's still a threat, you know, Iran. The whole thing with, you know, right now, Alex Jones is saying Trump's getting ready to send troops into Iran that were, you know, getting ready to reinstitute the draft system. And we're going to send troops, whether they like it or not, into Iran. It's actually a bullshit statement. And all we're doing is re-implementing a ability to sign up for a draft if it was necessary. And those processes are continuing into the fall. It's a national security issue, but doesn't say we're sending anybody into Iran or would even need to or want to. We don't want to put troops in the ground. He's shutting down wars, not starting them up. And if you have to bring them to a head and get it over with, that's on the course of shutting it down and dismantling Iran internally from a militarized standpoint. In fact, the one thing going to the nuke stuff, what Trump is really doing there, in part, he's looking for who's going to get in control in Iran that's going to agree to give us all of the yellow cake, all of the, as he likes to refer to it, nuclear dust, the highly refined material from which you make enriched uranium material useful for a bomb. He wants all that back, as he states it, back. What do you mean back? Did we have it ever in the first place? Yeah. A lot of that stuff that came from uranium-1 sales that went to Russia and then went to Iran. And we want it back. It was done under frauds by the Clintons and the Obamas. We want it back so they can't make a nuclear bomb out of that material. And until we get a regime that's willing to give it back to us, there won't be any peace. And we're not in any rush to have peace out of Iran. And then have the oil flowing again to disrupt oil supplies, providing it into China and other things. So as long as they're not willing to work with us, then, you know, let them just sit. And that is to the benefit of the Iranian people. We're trying very meticulously to keep civilian deaths to the absolute barest minimum, no matter what anybody's telling you. From our side, it is a war zone, and there's a lot of drama there. You know, nothing's perfect in war. And then as far as selling out to Israel, that's the complete charade. Falsehood.
What do you think about that? Benjamin Netanyahu being here, he was berating Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio publicly, it looked like, in a video. He looks very angry.
It didn't just look like it. It was a fact. He was berating him. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, what was that about? He looks pissed. And I told my audience today on Ringside with Nino, well, there's a reason he's mad.
Yeah.
He's pissed because we're not playing ball.
Yeah. Trump is, again, a lot of the problems in the world, people want to say it's a Jew problem. It's an Israel problem. I would contend that that is a misstatement. It is a globalista problem, and they use the shield of different factions and groups, Hezbollah, Iran, China even. You know, China is not run internally. China is run by the banks out of the city of London. China is just a branch office. Hong Kong, just a branch office for the banks out of the city of London, where the Queen has to curtsy and bow before the mayor. The King has to curtsy and bow before the mayor of the city of London once a year to show who's really in charge. What, the King of England, the Queen of England has to bow to the mayor of the city of London? You bet your fat ass. What's going on here? The banks are running this stuff, including China. We're fighting a group that's different than most people even understand. It's an illusion. You're seeing a mirage of power, and who's the real powers behind the thrones. That's what Trump's really fighting. When he cut off the oil flow out of Iran and the money and the troll tax for every tanker going through the Gulf was going to the city of London. That's what he cut off. He cut off the money supply, USAID to be used by SES and Serco. Serco being the British Commonwealth version of senior executive service here in America, doing that same stuff worldwide. We're cutting off the money flow to these places around the world. Trump is damaging and has been damaging, and the generals behind Trump have been damaging the cash flow and the arms flow to the people who want to have continuous wars all across the planet. And we're getting closer and closer by the hour to now coming home as we quiet things around the world to having this internal fight to recapture control of the helm of the ship of state of America from these pirates, these globalista who have hijacked control of the ship of state of America. And Trump's leading that charge with the generals behind him. It's a gruesome thing, but you don't have to wait very long. You'll be able to see pretty shortly, is Trump right or is Corsi right? Is Trump on the saving path, or is Alex Jones the one that knows more about what's going on? Who will be proven true in this? And your audience has been given great service by you, Nino, in at least allowing the other people to state their case and look at it. And now time will be the test, and we don't have long to wait. It's not years now to find out where this is going. You'll know in a matter of months where this is going.
These same criminals were behind the Act of 1871 that gave them power over U.S. taxpayer monies and thus the global financial system. The Illuminati, CCP, Khazarians, Rothschilds, Vatican, Obama's U.S. Inc., and Zionists were the real leaders in the New World Order depopulation Agenda 2030. They have been implementing AI control of the world's population. Silicon Valley algorithms were engineered by intelligence agencies to suppress sovereign thought, alternative history, and spiritual awakening. In July 2026, thanks to the BRICS Alliance and Trump, Global Military Alliance, the new quantum financial system was implemented worldwide. More than 85% of countries have joined this quantum financial grid. Implementation of the quantum financial system's global currency reset to gold asset-backed currency of 209 nations that trades at one with each other has allowed President Trump to reverse the Act of 1871 and the 1913 Federal Reserve and City of London Act. Those acts alone allowed the deep state cabal to set up their privately owned Federal Reserve and IRS. The 6 major corporate media conglomerates were entirely run by CIA and Mossad assets. Their sole directive was to project low-frequency fear, keeping humanity trapped in loops of helplessness, division, and artificial scarcity for the sake of the New World Order depopulation, Agenda 2030. Reversal of the acts meant no more U.S. Inc., UK Crown and Vatican control over U.S. taxpayer monies, plus dissolved the Commonwealth, Maritime Law, and Balfour Declaration. The U.S. returned to a new republic functioning under concepts of the original Constitution. A new age of freedom and liberty was born for the world. That has happened with help of the Global Alliance and BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China less the CCP, and South Africa. Every reunion is a reminder that compassion, dignity, and family can transcend even the darkest of times. War. My representative and I continue working with the governments of Russia and Ukraine to safely return children to their families and communities. Sidney Powell. The CIA knew there was foreign interference in the stolen 2020 election, and they knew these machines were compromised. The goal was always to control the outcome of our elections. Both Democratic and Republican politicians have been diverting children's, healthcare, and education funds into their own political campaigns. Trump's military tribunals were in full swing at Gitmo, where lies of the deep state elites were falling apart in the biggest takedown in history. Evidence comes into sealed military grand juries. A military official confirms that military trials of deep state leadership have been held at Guantanamo since 2020. Quantum monitoring technology can catch war criminals who are involved in trafficking, bioterrorism, election interference, and satanic crimes. The quantum financial system and quantum judicial network were getting information from these testimonies that destroy the deep state systems for finance, law, and surveillance. Trump's troops have taken control of more than 1,700 planes that were used for trafficking, attacked hangars, crews were questioned. Every CEO was put in the QFS for later judgment. Some courts have already given people death sentences. The law of war is in effect. Airline CEO testimonies revealed global currency reset. WED 29 July 2026. The quantum financial system has officially gone live, marking the beginning of the greatest financial revolution in history. With quantum satellites now operational and military-guarded nodes securing transactions, the old system is crumbling. Cabal-controlled wealth has been seized, and the global currency reset is in full motion, ensuring a fair and transparent financial future for all. The shift to a decentralized, corruption-free economy is no longer speculation, it's reality. The world is on the brink of a quantum leap, and those who are prepared will witness the transformation firsthand. WED 29 July 2026. Marksy, looks like Reno is getting ready to exchange. I have 2 contacts, paymasters, headed to Reno tomorrow. 31 July 2026. Tier 4 Internet Group and Zim bondholders will receive redemption appointments. Thurs. 30 July 2026. Bruce, the Big Call Universe, IBIZ. Com, 667-770-1866 sources say Tier 4B us, the Internet Group, could be notified tomorrow Fry. 31 July 2026 with exchanges starting Sat. 1 AUG. Currency exchanges and Zim redemption at redemption centers could go to Fry. 21 AUG. 2026. Redemption centers will give you higher currency exchange rates, will give the dinar contract rate, and can redeem Zim bonds. Banks cannot. On that Fry. 21 AUG. 2026 banks will begin exchanging for the general public. Wells Fargo is in charge of redemption centers for the U.S. HSBC and Scotiabank are available in Canada. The new U.S. Treasury note will be available in cash at the redemption center. If you are a Zim holder and you have a dire health need, the final countdown, QFS activation NEARS. The quantum financial system is no longer a theory or a distant possibility, it is imminent. The final phase of integration is underway, with global infrastructure shifting to accommodate the most advanced financial architecture ever conceived. Nations are quietly aligning their systems, preparing for the complete and irreversible transition to a gold-backed, transparent economy. Debt slavery ends, central banks, once the lifeblood of the cabal's control, are being phased out. Trillions in fraudulent debt, created through deception, will be wiped clean. Governments will no longer be able to enslave their people through perpetual borrowing. No more market manipulation. Stock markets, forex, and commodities have long been manipulated by elite financial institutions. With QFS, every transaction is monitored in real time, ensuring fair valuation based on true supply and demand. The age of artificial crashes and economic blackmail is over. Instantaneous settlements, the days of slow, manipulated banking transfers are gone. With quantum processing speeds, transactions will settle instantly. No intermediaries, no hidden fees, no delays. the people will finally have control over their own wealth. The collapse of the fiat system is UNDRWAY. Look around. The signs are everywhere. Banks are shutting down. Major financial institutions are restructuring. Nations are hoarding gold. The old system is imploding under its own corruption. Governments and elite players are scrambling, but there is no escape. QFS has already accounted for every last piece of hidden wealth, and when the final switch is flipped, their ill-gotten gains will be worthless. The Great Awakening and global economic freedom. The world is about to experience the greatest financial reset in human history, but only those who are prepared will thrive. The coming weeks will be intense. Banking collapses, arrests, and sudden economic shifts will shake the unawakened masses. But for those who understand what is happening, this is the dawn of a new era. Watch for public announcements. The transition will not be hidden much longer. Official disclosures will confirm the QFS activation, marking the true beginning of the wealth redistribution process. Stay out of fear. The chaos you see is the necessary destruction of a broken system. Trust the process. Prepare for prosperity. Those aligned with the new system will witness abundance like never before. Financial oppression is ending, and the future of sovereign wealth is here. The quantum financial system, QFS, has been operating behind the scenes, monitoring all banking transactions in preparation for its full activation. This off-world technology will revolutionize the financial world, rendering corrupt systems obsolete and ensuring a gold or asset-backed economy free from manipulation. The end of the cabal's banking empire. The QFS has replaced the SWIFT system with an unhackable, AI-driven network supported by the secret space program. It was designed to dismantle the deep state's control, preventing illegal wealth accumulation through usury, fraud, and theft. The days of corrupt politicians and bankers laundering money in secrecy are over. QFS monitors every transaction in real time. The QFS has been running parallel to the existing system, exposing financial corruption. THRS, 30 July 2026 ISO 20022, doesn't directly expose fraud. It forces the systems that receive the data to expose it. 20,022 doesn't directly expose fraud. It forces the systems that receive the data to expose it. Under MT, a message might say only, funds transferred details on file. Under ISO 20022, the same transaction must specify exact source of funds, exact economic purpose, exact ownership structure, exact intermediary chain, exact fees, spreads, FX rates, exact regulatory category, exact counterparty information, machine readable, machine auditable, right arrow, machine reconcilable. The opacity dies, not because ISO 20022 accuses anyone, but because everything is finally described in forensic detail. This is the transparency upgrade. This blows open hidden flows, skimming, off-ledger pools, errors, mismatches, misallocated collateral, etc. Banks, correspondent networks, FX desks, and clearing houses have relied for decades on. Omnibus accounts, blended fee buckets, net settlements, smoothing, miscoded purpose fields, internal suspense accounts, delayed reconciliation. ISO 20022 wipes out the shadows where these techniques lived. Not by accusation, but by precision. The post-cutover world becomes deterministic, not probabilistic under MT. Trust us, it balances. Under ISO 20022, prove it. Every field, every hop, every custodian, every fee, every spread, every timestamp. This is an audit-grade digital paper trail. The only ones who fear this level of illumination are those who depend.
This is all a massive psyop. And yes, technically, they're telling you the truth. But these tens of thousands of people crossing over into Spain have actually crossed over into an enclave of Spain in Africa called Ceuta. This is all done as a psyop. They haven't actually come into the mainland of Spain as yet. Although, if the psyop doesn't work, I'm sure they'll put them on the next boat. This is all This is all supposed to wake you up so that you can see what's going on. This is all a movie. This is all a pantomime. I've told you, and I've told you, and I've told you. The sooner people wake up to the pantomime, the movie, what's going on, the quicker we can get through it. But this has to be done to wake up the masses. What's happening in South Korea with the collapse of the stock market? This is a trigger that will cause a knock-on effect of huge scale. The same with Japan selling all of their bonds and their stocks, US bonds, US stocks. This is all part of the collapsing of the old United States hegemony, the system. And Donald Trump is at the heart of collapsing the old US, the United States of America corporation. The one that was the United Kingdom, or the City of London, not the United Kingdom, the City of London had total control over, but no longer. This is all being dismantled in plain sight. And it's very interesting when you listen to what's going on here in the Middle East. The blockade of the Straits of Hormuz, which stops American shipping from going through whilst everyone else does, actually hurts America more than anybody. And the United States of America Corporation thought it would hurt China. They'd just forgotten one thing. China has become far less dependent on oil than America. China, many years ago, moved across to electronics, electric cars. 60% of the cars in China run on electric, not on solid fuel, as in petroleum, gasoline, diesel. So the United States of America have actually gone into this without knowing the damage that they've done to the US, they've done to themselves. But this is all part of the plan to dismantle the old United States of America corporation. But what will happen is there will be the birth of America, not the United States, America. 37 countries coming together in prosperity, and that includes Cuba and Venezuela and Mexico and Canada, and the list goes on.
The global election rigging machine just GOT exposed. And it started with a bet. Mr. Poole on Telegram, the mainstream media is trying to contain the damage. They are calling it a UK Conservative Party betting scandal. They want you to believe that a few British politicians simply used inside information to win money on election dates. They are lying. This is not about gambling. This is about global election manipulation. Here are the facts they cannot suppress. Multiple high-ranking officials are under active investigation by gambling regulators. The chief data officer of the ruling party has been forced to step down. Millions of dollars are moving through offshore accounts. The investigation is expanding daily, pulling in more politicians who thought they were untouchable. But here is the terrifying truth that military intelligence has uncovered. These betting markets are not casinos. They are the new deep state mechanism for laundering money to fund election interference worldwide. The alliance has tracked the financial flows. The £5 million gifts from foreign billionaires, the offshore accounts, the synchronized betting patterns. It is all a sophisticated cover to move untraceable funds to operatives who rig elections, suppress truth, and maintain the deep state's grip on power. What is happening in the UK right now is exactly what they have been doing in the United States. The same players, the same offshore accounts, the same manipulation. But Donald Trump and his military intelligence team have been watching. They allowed the deep state to use these markets because it created a digital paper trail. Every transaction was recorded. Every politician who took the bait is now trapped in the net. The panic in London is mirroring the panic in Washington, D.C. The globalist elite realize their entire financial mechanism for controlling elections has been exposed. The UK scandal is just the first domino to fall. When Trump returns, the full scope of this international money laundering operation will be declassified. The globalist politicians who sold out their countries will face military tribunals. The evidence is overwhelming, and the traps have already been sprung. Code: election marketrigging global LAUNDRNG nexus / UK domino falling / the trap is sprung. The stage is being set. The Great Awakening is not just American, it is global. A NASA senior engineer just escaped to Switzerland. He worked on the BLACKTAL project for 11 years. He just leaked the FILES. He made contact with our secure server 24 hours ago. His security clearance and employment records have been fully verified. He worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, and a classified underground facility in Nevada from 2013 to 2025, on a propulsion system that the public is told is physically impossible. He calls it Project Etha. His exact words, unedited. In 2018, we didn't just receive a signal from deep space. We decoded a blueprint, a complete geometric formula for reactionless zero-point energy and sublight propulsion. The first time I saw it tested in the Nevada desert, the test vehicle, a disc 30 meters wide, lifted off the ground without sound, without heat exhaust, and without burning a single drop of fuel. It reached Mars orbit in 3 hours. Not months, not years, 3 hours. I watched instruments lock onto the Martian atmosphere while eating my morning coffee in the observation bunker. We had humanity stepping onto another planet a decade ago. I asked the program director, when do we announce this to the public? Energy crises would end tomorrow. He laughed and said, kid, the global economy runs on oil and debt. If free energy drops, the power structure collapses before nightfall. In 11 years, I cataloged 44 unmanned probes sent to the outer solar system using ETHA Drive's 12 crewed orbital flights, establishing deep space infrastructure, 0 carbon emissions, 0 fuel costs, 100% limitless clean, power, the total suppression of 19 independent inventor patents globally. The worst part wasn't the secrecy. It was watching the news. I would leave a facility where we were mapping out mining operations on the moons of Jupiter and drive home past gas stations charging $5 a gallon, watching families choose between groceries and heating their homes. I would see governments arguing over carbon taxes and climate crises, and I knew we had solved energy forever, locked behind 3-inch steel doors 500 feet beneath the desert sand. Why he fled. Last month, they approved the commercialization of the technology, but exclusively for private orbital defense stations controlled by 3 megacorporations. The public was scheduled to get a carbon tax increase in the same fiscal quarter. They were going to tax people for the air they breathe while using free space drive tech for corporate expansion. I copied 40 gigabytes of schematics onto an encrypted drive, walked out of the gate, and didn't stop driving until I crossed the border. Why he's RELESNG it now? I am not hiding anymore. They can label me a traitor, but the real treason is keeping humanity chained to the Stone Age while the stars are already within our reach. I have telemetry data. I have financial trails linking defense contractors to the suppression orders. I have the names of every official who signed off on the blackout. The technology belongs to humanity, not to a board of directors. His final message: to every person struggling with an energy bill this winter, you were lied to. The universe is overflowing with infinite power. They kept it from you to keep you dependent. To the engineers and scientists still inside, you know the math, you know it works. Walk out before it's too late. To the agency, you can lock my lab, but you can't unleak the truth. Gitmo GROWS as GSARA activation, SDRTS. Trump's military TRIBUNLS are in full swing. Airline CEO TSDM1IS revealed deep state flight RUTES, and Fiat collapse is imminent, is growing under the direct control of the U.S. Marines, who work for President Donald J. Trump, the real commander-in-chief in 2025. The lies of the fake government are falling apart. The storm is tearing through elite networks behind the scenes. There are no more ways out, found hiding places. In the biggest takedown in history, evidence comes into sealed military grand juries. These aren't upgrades, they're expansions of war prisons. New blocks with a lot of security. Quantum monitoring technology can catch war criminals who are involved in trafficking, bioterrorism, election interference, and satanic crimes. An insider leak confirms that several airline CEOs are giving testimony while being protected. They didn't just run airlines, they also ran secret trafficking routes with private jets, hidden cargo, fake manifests, and secret terminals. Kids, black budget tech, and stolen goods are all up in the air, out of sight of the public. Their encrypted flight logs back up what the whistleblower said. A lot of them lead to black sites in the Caribbean, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. Trump never lost power. He set off the military chain of command in 2021 with secret orders that are now being carried out with exact precision. The quantum financial system and quantum judicial network are getting information from these testimonies. They are meant to destroy the deep state systems for finance, law, and surveillance. Jassara is no longer coming. It's already happening. More than 85% of countries have joined the quantum financial grid. People in test areas are getting quantum access cards. The wealth that has been stolen for hundreds of years will be given back to we the people. Control of more than 1,700 planes that were used for trafficking. Attacked hangars. Crews were questioned. Every CEO was put in the QFS for later judgment. Some courts have already given people death sentences. The law of war is in effect. This isn't politics.
To that. Now, at this moment, it's about closing ranks. You may disagree and still be a good guy whether or not we should pause the election this fall. But at the end of the day, it's not everybody's, it's not up for discussion at some level. The decision, I would contend, has already been made. And in order to protect the republic, there isn't any way to fix the election system before November 3rd this year. Why? Because it's already fixed. You already have candidates on the ballot through fraudulent primaries, fraudulent votes in the primaries because you didn't clean the voter rolls and you didn't fix the election systems, machines, etc. So now you have, if you did go proceed forward with the vote, you would have a fraudulent election no matter what at this point this year on November 3rd. And you have states like California trying to bring in other allied states to go forward no matter what Trump does within a commander-in-chief role. So there is going to be civil unrest, and there is going to be stuff at the state level to challenge Trump's authority.
How much civil unrest? How many threats have we neutralized, Juanito? Have we neutralized, what, 60%, 70, 80%? How many of the threats have we neutralized? I mean, what are they willing to do? What are they capable of doing?
I don't know if I could quantify that precisely because there's different levels of threat. You know, we, even within what the president is doing, buying time over this last 5 years through a prior election, another midterm, the presidential election, 2024. How do you gauge the magnitude of each individual threat, the country falling into civil war or nuclear devices? Remember, the lead up to the 2024 election, we had everything that could fly out searching for any hidden signatures of nukes loose in America, as well as other places. We still haven't located all of those missing nukes. And in fact, there's still a threat, Iran. The whole thing with, right now, Alex Jones is saying Trump's getting ready to send troops into Iran that were, getting ready to reinstitute the draft system. And we're going to send troops, whether they like it or not, into Iran. It's actually a bullshit statement. And all we're doing is re-implementing a ability to sign up for a draft if it was necessary. And those processes are continuing into the fall. It's a national security issue, but doesn't say we're sending anybody into Iran or would even need to or want to. We don't want to put troops in the ground. He's shutting down wars, not starting them up. And if you have to bring them to a head and get it over with, that's on the course of shutting it down and dismantling Iran internally from a militarized standpoint. In fact, the one thing going to the nuke stuff, What Trump is really doing there, in part, he's looking for who's going to get in control in Iran that's going to agree to give us all of the yellow cake, all of the, as he likes to refer to it, nuclear dust, the highly refined material from which you make enriched uranium material useful for a bomb. He wants all that back, as he states it, back. What do you mean back? Did we have it ever in the first place? Yeah. A lot of that stuff that came from uranium-1 sales that went to Russia and then went to Iran. And we want it back. It was done under frauds by the Clintons and the Obamas. We want it back so they can't make a nuclear bomb out of that material. And until we get a regime that's willing to give it back to us, there won't be any peace. And we're not in any rush to have peace out of Iran, and then have the oil flowing again to disrupt oil supplies, providing it into China and other things. So as long as they're not willing to work with us, then, let them just sit. And that is to the benefit of the Iranian people. We're trying very meticulously to keep civilian deaths to the absolute barest minimum, no matter what anybody's telling you. From our side, it is a war zone, and there's a lot of drama there. Nothing's perfect in war. And then as far as selling out to Israel, that's the complete charade, falsehood.
What do you think about that? Benjamin Netanyahu being here, he was berating Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio publicly, it looked like, in a video. He looks very angry.
It didn't just look like it. It was a fact. He was berating him. Yeah.
So, yeah. What was that about? He looks pissed. And I told my audience today on Ringside with Nino, well, there's a reason he's mad.
Yeah.
He's pissed because we're not playing ball.
Yeah. Trump is, again, a lot of the problems in the world, people want to say it's a Jew problem. It's an Israel problem. I would contend that is a misstatement. It is a globalista problem, and they use the shield of different factions and groups, Hezbollah, Iran, China even. China is not run internally. China is run by the banks out of the city of London. China is just a branch office. Hong Kong, just a branch office for the banks out of the city of London, where the Queen has to curtsy and bow before the mayor. The King has to curtsy and bow before the mayor of the city of London once a year to show who's really in charge. What, the King of England? The Queen of England has to bow to the mayor of the city of London? You bet your fat ass. What's going on here? The banks are running this stuff, including China. We're fighting a group that's different than most people even understand. It's an illusion. You're seeing a mirage of power, and who's the real powers behind the thrones. That's what Trump's really fighting. When he cut off the oil flow out of Iran and the money and the troll tax for every tanker going through the Gulf was going to the city of London. That's what he cut off. He cut off the money supply, USAID to be used by SES and Serco. Serco being the British Commonwealth version of senior executive service here in America, doing that same stuff worldwide. We're cutting off the money flow to these places around the world. Trump is damaging and has been damaging, and the generals behind Trump have been damaging the cash flow and the arms flow to the people who want to have continuous wars all across the planet. And we're getting closer and closer by the hour to now coming home, as we quiet things around the world, to having this internal fight to recapture control of the helm of the ship of state of America from these pirates, these globalista who have hijacked control of the ship of state of America. And Trump's leading that charge with the generals behind him. It's a gruesome thing, but you don't have to wait very long. You'll be able to see pretty shortly, is Trump right or is Corsi right? Is Trump on the saving path, or is Alex Jones the one that knows more about what's going on? Who will be proven true in this? And your audience has been given great service by you, Nino, in at least allowing the other people to state their case and look at it. And now time will be the test, and we don't have long to wait. It's not years now to find out where this is going. You'll know in a matter of months where this is going.
Hello, Patriots. I'm at Restored Republic via AGCR update compiled by Judy Byington. Global currency reset. Currency exchanges to begin by Friday the 31st, 2026. With financial gain as a priority, the AMA, Big Pharma, WHO, CDC, and FDA for 80 years have worked together to carry out a worldwide genocide by pushing drugs while banning body regeneration depopulation agenda 2030. And this is a quote from George Orwell. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. Another quote from President Donald Trump. Jill Biden insisted Joe would have beat me in 2024. She felt he was going to win because he was seriously ahead in the deceased voters category. Well, we thought we knew, but didn't really know, and now we're supposed to know, but don't have a clue. Wednesday, July 29, 2026, Trump has secretly used Swiss intermediaries to negotiate directly with Tehran. Iran has secretly agreed to completely dismantle its nuclear program. In exchange, the U.S. blockade is lifting, but on Trump's terms. The U.S. will control the strait, and the deal includes $500 billion in seized deep state assets that are being redirected to the U.S. Treasury. Wednesday, July 29th, largest healthcare fraud in U.S. history, Operation Gold Rush, exposes $14.6 billion medical scam. On September 11, 2001, 2 planes hit 2 World Trade Center buildings in New York, but 3 buildings fell down. World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed, and with it, some of the most high-profile Wall Street cases and financial crimes to ever be brought into investigation had all evidence destroyed. Building 7 was a controlled demolition. It housed CIA offices. 9/11 was done by CIA, Mossad, ISIS. There were no hijackers. Operation Northwoods, CIA, Mossad, ISIS is owned and operated by the Rothschild-Rockefeller cartel. They hate you and want to impoverish, control, and starve you via their Great Reset, New World Order. The USAID files will expose every NGO, front company, donor, associate, and individual against President Trump and the American people themselves. USAID has been a U.S. taxpayer money laundering front for the financing of deep state rogue agency operations and CIA-sponsored regime changes across the world. Even though a court order has been issued ordering access for the Trump administration, the Department of Justice has still been denied access to the encrypted codes of the USAID files. Wednesday, July 29, $27 billion in Obamacare fraud exposed. Fake identities, stolen social security numbers, dead people getting subsidies, and 160,000 legitimate accounts hacked and altered. House Republicans say weak Biden-Harris safeguards enabled the massive theft. Trump administration is now removing millions of fraudulent enrollments. This is what happens when they dismantle anti-fraud protections. Wednesday, July 29th, the Quantum Financial System release will create a self-deportation of at least 20 million because in order to collect money sitting in their QFS wallet, they have to be a citizen of the country. That means car and housing markets will crash. Service industries will close, among others. There will be an apartment glut and schools will close. So that's what I've always been told, is that will cause the people that are here illegally to run to their country of origin, because they won't have any money. They won't be able to even use the system.
Global currency reset. Wednesday, the 29th of July, 2026. Nasara Gassara connected on Telegram. The quantum financial system has officially gone live, marking the beginning of the greatest financial revolution in history. With quantum satellites now operational and military-guarded nodes securing transactions, the old system is crumbling. Cabal-controlled wealth has been seized, and the global currency reset is in full motion, ensuring a fair and transparent financial future for all. The shift to a decentralized, corruption-free economy is no longer speculation. It's reality. The world is on the brink of a quantum leap, and those who are prepared will witness the transformation firsthand. Wednesday, the 29th of July, 2026, Mark Z. Looks like Reno is getting ready to exchange. I have 2 contacts. Paymasters headed to Reno tomorrow, Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2026. Our military intel contact said they released everything at 3 p.m. PDT on Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2026. To start the shotgun release of liquidity and notifications over next 72 hours. To fry, the 31st of July, 2026, for the lower levels tiers, including Tier 4B. Tuesday, within the next 72 hours to fry, the 31st of July, 2026, Tier 4 Internet. Group and ZIM bondholders will receive redemption appointments. Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2026, Bruce. The big call 866. Redemption Center leaders have been told to go into the Redemption Center before noon on Thursday, the 21st of August, 2026. They are to continue to work, including Sundays, for the next 21 days for redemption of ZIM and exchange of currencies. Some sources say Tier 4B can start appointments by Friday, the 31st of July, or perhaps even by Thursday afternoon, the 30th of July, 2026. Paymaster accounts will be liquid on Friday, the 31st of July, and bondholders can have their accounts liquid on Saturday, the 1st of August, 2026. The banks will be able to exchange currencies for the general public on Thursday, the 21st of August, 2026. There will be 51 currencies that will exchange to a new rate higher or lower.
Wednesday, July 29th, the quantum financial system has been operating behind the scenes, monitoring all banking transactions in preparation for its full activation. This off-world technology will revolutionize the financial world, rendering corrupt systems obsolete and ensuring a gold or asset-backed economy free from manipulation. The end of the cabal's banking empire, the QFS will replace the SWIFT system with an unhackable AI-driven network supported by the Secret Space Program. It was designed to dismantle the deep state's control, preventing illegal wealth accumulation through usury, fraud, and theft. The days of corrupt politicians and bankers laundering money in secrecy are over. QFS monitors every transaction in real time. The QFS has been running parallel to the existing system, exposing financial corruption. The Federal Reserve is losing control. The SWIFT system is failing. This is not an accident. Wednesday, July 29, 2026. In spring 2023, Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, and First Republic Bank collapsed in rapid succession. The mainstream media blamed poor management. They lied. It was a controlled demolition of the old banking system. The Federal Reserve knew it was coming. They let it happen. Since then, the banking system has been in a state of controlled chaos. The SWIFT system, the backbone of global finance, has been experiencing cascading failures. ISO 20022 implementation is forcing a complete restructuring of cross-border payments. Banks are scrambling. The system is breaking down from the inside. Meanwhile, the global financial crisis is accelerating. Europe's financial system is under extreme stress. The dollar is weakening, inflation is destroying purchasing power, the debt crisis is becoming impossible to hide. This is exactly what the alliance planned. Military intelligence and Trump's team have been quietly preparing the quantum financial system, a blockchain-based, asset-backed alternative to the Federal Reserve's fiat currency slavery. While the old system collapses, the new one is being installed in the shadows. The recent banking failures were not random. They were strategic removals of institutions that were too corrupt to save. The Federal Reserve is being systematically dismantled. The IRS infrastructure is being quietly shut down. The wealth stolen from the American people over 80 years is being tracked and will be returned. When Trump returns to full power, the switch will be flipped. The QFS will go live. The Federal Reserve will be abolished. The IRS will cease to exist. Asset-backed currency will replace fiat slavery. This is why they are panicking. The banking elites know their time is ending. They are trying to crash the economy to blame it on Trump. But the alliance is already catching the fall. Every bank failure, every market crash, every economic indicator is part of the plan to transition humanity from financial slavery to financial freedom. Code, SWIFT collapse. Federal Reserve fall, QFS incoming, asset-backed currency, financial freedom. You are witnessing the greatest wealth transfer in human history. The old guard is terrified because they cannot stop what is coming. Their old weapon was your ignorance. That weapon is now useless.
Blackout warning. Tier 4, it has begun. Now the 10 days of darkness are in effect. The prophecy that was whispered is happening right now. The world's communication networks are shutting down one after the other. Broadcast towers are silent, media anchors are disappearing in the middle of sentences, and major networks are offline. The controlled blackout phase has begun for the entire world. On several continents, emergency broadcast systems are ready. Global communication is now entirely under Starlink's control. Quantum encryption filters every signal, every transmission, and every frequency. For the first time in contemporary history, the people, not the puppets, control the information flow. It's not chaos. This is a correction. The blackout serves as a barrier between reality and deceit. The QFS and military alliance are carrying out coordinated takedowns of data centers, banks, and political networks connected to the previous regime while the surface goes dark. Every operation is absolute, silent, and clean. Be prepared for quiet. Be prepared for confusion. Be prepared for incredulity. Your devices may become motionless, channels may freeze, and power grids may flicker. The truth is being prepared for release behind that silence. The world will see an uncensored broadcast that reveals what has been concealed for generations once the system stabilizes. Don't be afraid of what you can't see. The light has never gone out. It is merely removing the mist that caused humanity to become blind. Those who maintain their composure, awareness, and composure will lead the others through what lies ahead. The blackout does not mean the end. It's the purification. It's the time when history starts over. Nothing will be the same when the screens come back to life. Tonight marks the end of the age of deceit. Silence is the first step toward the age of truth. While you can, spread the word about this. Your composure will turn into someone else's strength when the signal wanes.
What we think we know as of Thurs. 30 July 2026. WED 29 July 2026. BREAKING Special Report. State Department bombshell. The real target was never capitalism. How the globalist trap was laid and the American system fightback begins.
It's Thursday, the 30th of July 2026. When I was a young man growing up and things were that obvious and I couldn't see it, my father referred to me as a thicko. When something is that obvious and you can't see it. What happened yesterday with Dr. Fauci was put out there to wake up the thickos. Number one, it looked nothing like the real, original Fauci, who was removed some time back. But the actor playing Fauci was there for all to see. And I'm amazed at the amount of people thought, oh yeah, that's Dr. Fauci's on trial at last. He's been dealt with a long time ago, but the movie's playing out. But first of all, it looks nothing like him. Second of all, to sit there with the complete disdain for the American system and the people and refuse to answer questions, pleading the fifth, when he was already pardoned by Biden with an auto pen. You can't make this stuff up. You're watching a movie. My audience are awake. For those who are watching this for the first time and you're not awake, the clues are all there. But I would remind you, if you can't see it now, you're a thicko. And I'm telling you because I used to be a thicko. So I know what I'm talking about. When something is that obvious, it's in your face, and you can't see it, there's something wrong. Everything that happened yesterday was set up for the movie. It was set up to wake up the thickos. For those people who are wide awake, we sit there and smile at the absolute arrogance of the man, the way he went about things, the way he was questioned. This was all done as part of the awakening process. And I said 2-3 years ago that it's going to get funnier and funnier and funnier for those people who just can't see it. Yesterday, it was like a slap in the face for the thickos, and some of them are still thicko. But maybe yesterday it woke up a few people from being a thicko to going, hang on a second, this is crazy. My next story is all about what's happening in the Middle East, Iran, Israel. Let me just say one thing that's very, very obvious to the critical thinker. Once Israel is removed, and I mean removed, world wars cease. It's that obvious, because they're behind them all. And those people who want peace want rid of this corrupt, evil group of people who are pushing for war with everybody. Currently pushing to remove the population of South Lebanon. And you go, well, why would you want to do that? Simple. It's predominantly Christian. And these Zionists want rid of Christianity because they don't believe in Christ Jesus. They serve another God. They serve Satan. Because the God that you and I know, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, is a peaceful God, is a loving God. He doesn't steal. I said it before and I'll say it again. When you start going down the rabbit holes, every rabbit hole you go down, the T becomes more silent. For those people who haven't worked it out, there's a rabbi at the bottom of every one. And that tells you an awful lot.
The media is in panic mode today. For the last 13 nights, the mainstream media told you we were heading into World War III. They reported that U.S. forces were striking Iran daily. They reported that President Trump was threatening a massive attack and had 1,000 missiles locked and loaded. On Telegram, https://t/me/107tg what happened yesterday. The bombings suddenly stopped. U.S. Central Command made 0 announcements of new strikes on Friday. The media is confused. They don't know why. I will tell you why. President Trump just pulled off the greatest geopolitical checkmate in modern history, and the deep state is terrified you will find out. While the media was screaming about war, Trump was secretly using Swiss intermediaries to negotiate directly with Tehran. He didn't just stop a war, he broke the military-industrial complex. Here is what is actually happening behind closed doors right now. Iran has secretly agreed to completely dismantle its nuclear program. In exchange, the U.S. blockade is lifting, but on Trump's terms. But here is the part that will break the internet. The deal includes $500 billion in seized deep state assets that are being redirected to the U.S. Treasury. Why do you think Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi was urgently meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov at the SCO summit in Kyrgyzstan yesterday? They were finalizing the framework of a new global financial agreement that completely bypasses the corrupt central banking system. The military-industrial complex is furious. They wanted endless war to fund their black budgets. Yesterday afternoon, military intelligence intercepted communications from 3 top Pentagon generals attempting to sabotage the peace talks. They were arrested at 03:00 a.m. this morning. President Trump is preparing to address the nation within the next 72 hours to announce this historic victory. When he does, global oil prices will plummet, the stock market will explode, and the deep state's primary funding mechanism, endless war, will be permanently severed. They wanted a war to stop him. He used their war to bankrupt them. The game is over. Share this everywhere before they take it down. The Starlink direct-to-cell constellation has assumed absolute priority over classical ISP routing. The legacy broadcast networks, historically utilized to maintain human cognitive suppression through targeted ELF, extremely low frequency, waves, are experiencing permanent signal attenuation. The planetary transition is now executing at full bandwidth. Quantum energy distribution, free energy resonance nodes, bioquantum medbed synchronization networks, decentralized sovereign identity, DSI, matrix, uncensored quantum mesh satellite, web the corporatone media monopoly is entering a total operational freeze. The algorithmic containment fields, once operated through big tech server hubs, have been completely overridden by Alliance military cryptographic keys. No more shadow banning. No more narrative curation. Simultaneously, over 6,000 suppressed technology patents, including cold fusion devices, scalar energy healing matrices, and anti-gravitational transport systems, are being auto-indexed into the open QFS database for immediate public deployment. The centralized energy cartels and private banking syndicates have officially lost their global clearing authorization. Their operational servers are running on empty buffers. From this moment forward, the only recognized authentication layer for planetary infrastructure is the quantum ledger secured by space-based alliance nodes. The true MOAB is executing right now. It is the instantaneous global liquidation of corporate debt, the total release of suppressed zero-point energy technologies, and the total DECLAS of all undisclosed underground projects. What is the Deep State Cabal Agenda 2030? Official Julian Assange on Telegram, it is the complete loss of our farmers. The Agenda 2030 is not the protection of the planet. It is the privatization of all natural resources. It is total control. It is dependency, submission, and totalitarianism. It is the sexualization and perversion of children. It is the creation of unjust and inhumane laws for submission and total control. It is indoctrination, loss of quality of life, of values, and idiocy. It is the loss of our sovereignty and restriction on our mobility. It is the privatization of water and destruction of dams, lakes, rivers, and reservoirs. It is the demonization of meat and the promotion of insect consumption. It is the biological and technological fusion of the human being. Transhumanism. The machine man. It is the colonization of the human brain, taking over the minds of all people to enslave them completely.
So you notice the comms, he's shaking hands with Zelensky. Zelensky was warned by Russia they were going to hit his bunker in Kiev. And they did. And Graham did not take the warning, and he was in that bunker when it got hit by an Oreshnik. You think he survived that? And then the hotel that the NATO people were staying in, where he was staying, after he supposedly survived that, was hit by another one, another attack. And he survived that to go home. Right. If you had survived as a politician those attacks, it would be mainstream media. They'd be all over it because you're protected by God and da-da-da-da-da. No, he did not survive it to get back home. He did not. Yeah, maybe his aorta was ripped in half with a lot of other things, parts of him, but it wasn't certainly in the U.S. It was in Ukraine.
A visitor near Sedona, Arizona, who wishes to remain anonymous, was filming the clouds when something unusual appeared above the red rocks. At first it looked like a faint rainbow caught inside a thin cloud, but the clouds continued moving while the strange formation remained almost perfectly still. Its position barely changed, yet its transparent body never stopped shifting. Different sections stretched, folded, dissolved, and formed again, without following any recognizable pattern. The person recording slowly zoomed in for a closer look. There were no solid edges, lights, wings, or visible structure, only an iridescent distortion that seemed to bend the sky behind it. When the camera zoomed back out, the anomaly was still hovering over the same location. Was it an unusual atmospheric phenomenon, cloud iridescence, a plasma-like object, or a distortion caused by the camera, or something we still don't understand?
Yes. So this is not what people think it is. Not all that looks beautiful is. So these are being seen. They call them the jellyfish plasmoids. They're being seen over Iran because the dome that is under Israel goes all the way to Iran and Iraq. And this can shapeshift into a reptilian. In other words, it's a fifth density Draco or an Archon. So now you know what an Archon, fifth density negative being, looks like.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So
they come out blown up out of the dumbs or something?
yes, they're working on the dumps in Iran and they're coming up.
Right.
And so the dump in Sedona is also cleaning, and so it's coming out. And so now they're asking the U.S. to use their technology. We do have technology now to deal with these things at fifth density.
We have Katie, Earth Bishop, back with us again. Katie's experience spans from shamanic wisdom, ancient alchemy, mediumship, Akashic record readings, and mystery school initiation. Her story is captured in her recently published book, Remember Your Torch. Katie, thanks for coming back on again.
Oh, thanks so much, Michael. It's great to be back. And thank you, Tracy Joe. Thanks for all that both of you do.
Oh, yeah, it's been it's exciting times. But for a lot of people, it's kind of scary. There's a lot of fear out there, and you're going to help us with some of that, right?
Yeah, I am. I'm really grateful to be on today to share some of the information that I have and kind of help alleviate some of the fear of the unknown as we're going into uncharted territory at this time. And what I really want to do too is undo some of the damage that this New Age false light movement has caused, because that's causing a lot of the fear as well, because there's so much contradiction and confusion out there because there's so much false information, and it's coming from people who are presenting themselves as spiritual leaders or contactees or whatever it may be. So I want to, clear some of that information, and hopefully this will help guide people as we navigate this uncharted territory. And as always with my information and all the classes I teach, I just like to present the information. I share what I know. I hope it helps. That's my goal always, but I'm never forcing an agenda or anything like that. This is just, you take the information and you use it as you want to use it. And I think what I'm going to do is connect some really big dots for people tonight. Because what we're seeing, or what I'm seeing at least in my practice, are some really big shifts in patterns in the people I'm working with. And this is huge because it relates to where we are as a collective in our consciousness and as we're at the end of this cycle. And this specifically has to do with the Book of Enoch, or the 3 books of Enoch is what I should say. Genesis 6, that one phrase that always pulls people in. And also, if people are really interested in getting more insights into the underlying situation that's going on, the Book of Giants from the Dead Sea Scrolls is a really good read as well. So this is all connected. Believe it or not, this is also connected to the Dark Kabbalah, some of the Gnostic texts and the Apocrypha texts. And this is really kind of at the crux of the foundation of what forms the deep state cabal and the Illuminati and a lot of these dark occult secret societies. So because this is a huge, massive topic, what I want to do is first talk about the patterns I'm seeing. I want to bring those forward because they're really important right now. And this is a good thing. These are positive patterns that I'm seeing. The first thing I'm seeing is that
you're going to expose a lot of stuff, but like you're going to speak about, we're waking up to a lot of this ourselves, and having someone like yourself and me, other truth seekers and speakers and so forth, we're able to see through this. We've been trying to point this out for quite some time, but we just saw Anthony Fauci expose himself massively in front of the whole world. But we're seeing the same thing with a lot of other people that we looked up: Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly, Sean Ryan. All these people have exposed themselves for who they really are. And, I appreciate you're going into some serious depth with this, going back, for eons. So good job. Thank you.
Sure. I think this is important for people to understand, because like I said, it connects a lot of dots, and we're seeing the resurgence of this information come online because we are at the end of the cycle, because we are at this end of the age. And so we're going to start getting answers, and it's important for us to understand what our options are moving forward, or how to move forward, right? What does that path look like? So one of the things I'm seeing that's been wonderful in my practice is that I'm having traditional psychotherapists send me clients, because they reach a point with someone and they realize, hey, something spiritual is going on. There's something I can't put my finger on, and I need to send them to someone who's doing this kind of spiritual entity attachment release. And I think the fact that we're forming this bridge and this relationship with traditional psychotherapy and like what's really, this dark medical mafia system, and they're starting to communicate with me and we're working together. I see that as a huge shift in our consciousness and a big step that we have to take forward. And the therapists that have been contacting me are all on board with this. I mean, they'll send me a client that they've been working on for years and they can't get past a certain block. And then they have one session with me and we've removed the entity. And the therapist is like, what in the world are you doing? I've been working with this person for so long and we couldn't get past this. And I tell them, a lot of the core issues that people are dealing with are an underlying entity attachment issue. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like. And then what I'm also seeing, and this is brand new over the last few months, and this has been really fascinating, and it really takes a lot for me to get my attention, because I've seen it all. I've been through a lot. I wrote my book about all my experiences. But what's happening is, just over the last 2 months, as I start getting into sacred space with someone, their entities just start popping out, and we're not even trying to do anything. It has been wild to experience and to see, and it's thrown people off. Like, oh my God, I didn't know I had this massive demonic in me, and it's just coming out. We're not even trying to remove them. We literally just get into sacred space and they're coming out. Now, I see this as a wonderful sign, because that means that our collective consciousness is rising and people are healing to the effect that all these entities need is a space to release now, because our frequency is so high and they can't hold on any longer. Now, this doesn't apply to every single session, and there's a lot of sessions where there's still a little bit of a battle and there's a lot more work to do in facing the shadow, but this is new, this new trend. And so again, I see this as a really good sign, and that actually ties into the underlying circumstances of the Book of Enoch and what's going on with that group that we call the fallen angels and the Nephilim and their children. That is directly tied to this, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. But what I first want to do is maybe give a little bit of background about entities in the unseen realm that we're dealing with, because a lot of people don't know and won't understand the terminology. And I also want to take the stigma out of it, because, when we start talking about entities and disembodied spirits and demonics, people get really scared because they think they're calling them in. And the truth is, you're interacting with them all the time. You just don't know it. And they don't want you to know it. That's the way they operate. We have way more disembodied spirits in this realm than we do actual physical human incarnate souls. Okay, so I'm talking billions, and there's all different kinds. They're not all demons, right? So that's why it's important to kind of understand what's going on in this unseen realm that is always there. It's just outside of our visible light spectrum. So, what happens is the darkness, it thrives in ignorance, right? So when we ignore them, we're giving them power. But when we actually shine this light of truth on what they are, then we reclaim all of our power and all of the fear goes away. So I just want to share some information on understanding how they operate, because once you understand that, you'll be able to see it. And you'll be able to see it now more than ever, again, because we're in this rising, we're coming up into this band of consciousness where you're gonna be able to almost physically see it with your 3D eyes, and a lot of people are experiencing that right now. So when I'm talking about entities or disembodied spirits, most people directly start thinking demons. And while that is true, and the traditional definition of demons are, when you really go to the text, and this is again just the traditional definition of a demon, that the group of the fallen angels that came down and mated with women, it was their children that became the Nephilim, and then those bodies of the Nephilim, when they deceased, their souls were not able to ascend or go to another stage of evolution. So they were trapped in our system as dark spirits. Now that's the traditional understanding of where the demonic realm comes from, okay? And there's a lot more to this. I'm just giving you the basic definitions. There's lots of different kinds of entities, and some can act demonic, but not actually be, a disembodied Nephilim. Okay, so that's where there's a lot of confusion with this. What I see the most are actually earthbound spirits, and these are disincarnate human souls. They're people who have passed on. It's almost like they're ghosts, and they didn't go through the false light matrix system. They didn't reincarnate, or they didn't ascend to their next stage of evolution. And so they're kind of stuck without a body on this plane, and they're looking for light. They're looking for soulful beings to attach to. And so I see a lot of that. It's very, very common for people to have an attachment that's an earthbound spirit, and they're not malevolent, but they are sucking your energy. They are influencing you, and most people have absolutely no idea that they're there. We also have things like egregores out there. I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot more information coming forward about how egregores work, because they're parasitic thought forms and they can really strongly influence people. And the dark occult uses them all the time. Religions, institutions, even sports teams all have egregores. That's like your team spirit or your school spirit or whatever. So I won't get in too much detail of that, but those are out there, as well as archons and alien ET interference. And then you've got things like voice to skull and dues and remote frequency technology and implants and artificial telepathy. And that's like a whole different ball game. That's like a whole different animal on how you deal with that. But I want to bring all of these into the context, because all of these things are unseen, right? We can't see them, but they are all there. So the commonality that they all have.
I've never heard this description before. It's so makes so much sense that once the Nephilim came in, you would think they would leave. It's like they had their fun, but yeah, they're trapped in here. Wow, that's amazing. That's the way a lot of these demonic forces and so forth, until they're expelled, they're trapped within this consciousness. Maybe they never leave. We just rise above them, right? How does that work?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's okay. That's a brilliant question. So that's exactly what we're experiencing right now. And that's why I kind of reference Enoch and the Book of Giants to really understand what's happening, because when those souls came in, we all come in from outside of this realm with a certain mission or thought, or were programmed a certain way. And they were not able to leave, and it wasn't really their choice. And they're not human souls, so they're not going to be going where we go when we ascend. It's two different paths, and they have not been allowed to leave or be removed, and it's caused so much chaos and so much suffering and so much heartache for so many people on this planet right now, because they don't understand. They know there's something wrong with them, but they can't figure it out because it's not seen. And the church and our schools, no one talks about this and no one teaches about this. And again, that just gives them more power, because they operate by deception and they operate through false light. And it's just, a smorgasbord of false light out there right now. That's mostly what you see versus truth. And the dark occult, the cabal, the deep state, the Illuminati, they know how to work with these forces, okay? This is like the 72 archetypes when you start studying the Kabbalah. So they know how to call them in. They know how to summon them. They know how to get them to do things for them. They know how to manipulate people, and they know how to gain power from them. This all goes back even to, the Solomon's Temple and the building of the temple. And there's so much to this. And for people who are really interested in this, I do have I've so many classes on my website where I go into this in more detail, because part of the problem is they've conflated all of the information and all of the characters and Satan and Lucifer and Azazel and Semyaza and the Akalu and the fallen, and we don't even understand really the terminology that's being used because it's not being used in the right way for what it actually means. So my point is the fact that they're popping out and they're leaving and they're moving is a wonderful sign that a way has been shown to them or paved for them to start their rehabilitation process. That's how I'm seeing this. This is how I'm intuiting that, because again, this is new and we are at the end of the age, and this would be the time when they would be leaving. That doesn't mean they're all leaving, and that doesn't mean they're all going willingly, but it is happening. I'm seeing it, I'm experiencing it, and I have so many clients that are having amazing experiences with this, lifting these things off and getting their lives back and feeling more like themselves. And it's being done in a way that it's different than it was before. Something shifted, something changed, something's been opened up for them. So that's kind of why I want to bring some of this information forward. And a lot of people wonder, well, how do they get in, or how do they attach to someone, you know? And that's just such a really, really important point, because they can attach in all kinds of different ways. And one of them is severe trauma. You know, unfortunately, when you have severe trauma, the soul can leave and something else can come in and start working through the person. And then the other way, believe it or not, is our consent. And it's where we put our attention and our focus and our actions. That's all of our energetic currency. And so these things kind of weasel their way in. They know you better than you know yourself, and they'll kind of trick you into doing things that maybe you normally wouldn't do, or making decisions little by little. And before you know it, you know, you've given your consent away to one of these entities that can control. So it's important for people to know that, you know. Now, what's also important is to understand that the way they operate, because one of the things that we're never taught is our cosmic and natural law, which actually grants us sovereignty over our souls to protect us from entities. And we don't even know that we have this. And like I said before, they gain our permission through deception, through like hiding, acting like false light. So it's all about understanding that, you know, you are actually in control of this, and you have the ability to remove these things. And when you face them, and we go through like a redemption process of owning your actions and looking back at your, you know, where you've acted in your shadow self, I would say, that's where the power is, and that's when they get released. And when you understand the way occult language works, and you understand the law of domain, you can even see that the word demon and domain have the same structure, really. It's all about authority, it's all about domain. And this is where, you know, the authority we see going to Christ, Yeshua, Jesus, Isa, you know, whatever name people want to use for him, but he earned what is called the exousia for the authority in this realm. And that's why, you know, his presence works when you need help with shifting some of these dark spirits out. So I hope, I know I'm saying a lot, but this is what's going on. And there are so many people that suffer from closet addictions, and they can't break free, and they can't break the loop. And it's because there's usually an entity attached. And once they're able to identify that and do some clearing and do some shadow work, it makes the process so much smoother. But we're in a world right now where people are just so overconsumed with addictions and food and alcohol and pornography, and people are so disassociated. Disassociation is another entry point. It's a really important entry point. When we're zoning out on social media or Netflix, you're opening yourself up to that kind of programming. And all of the websites are actually domains, right? So something can attach through, dark programming that you're actually watching through a screen.
Wow. Yeah.
And self-sabotage is another, symptom of this. People who are always really almost like their own worst enemy. There's usually, it's not them, it's not their true self that's doing that to them. It's something else outside of them. And what I'm seeing really
It's like you froze up a little bit, Katie.
and I think you cut out. Am I still there?
You're back now. Yeah, you were out a little. Yeah.
Okay.
This is very relevant subject matter, and it seems to be once we hit on subjects like this, there's a little bit of interference. But yeah, you're good now. Thanks. And what you're sharing is just phenomenal. I mean, your view of the bigger picture and being able to bring it in so it's understandable is, I've never seen anybody, explain it like you are right now. It's very, very good. Good job. Wow.
Thanks. I'm doing my best, and I think it's really important for us to understand the bigger picture, because that takes away the fear of the unknown. When you understand the bigger picture, you can kind of like reverse engineer the situation and see what is really happening. And one of the things I was about to say with the pride and the ego, and that, spiritual community or galactic community, or I don't know whatever you want to call it. But people are, saying, oh, I was so-and-so in a past life, and I was so wonderful. And you've got a lot of these like BS New Agers reading Akashic records